Hello, everybody. How's it going? Ugh. Moxie Blue, Krazakon, welcome to chat. Are you guys ready for this? I'm excited. Oh. All right, here we go. Let me get it pulled up here. Oh, you know what I gotta do? Hang on. I got something I gotta do.
I've been playing ever since. This was like some of the best times I've ever had.
It's limitless.
I ended up throwing a boot at one of my party members, and he's my husband now.
And that's the thing that connects all of us, is that we all love D&D.
We've made something that's its own thing.
Wait, where's my camera? Why is everything in front of my camera?
It's a metaphor for life, right?
This group was the thing that kept me going.
The good friends in this life that I have, I found playing D&D.
I don't understand why Restream is in front of me. What the hell?
I think it is important.
You could actually let your imagination go wild.
The world is your oyster. The possibilities are endless.
Oh, it got put in my group for some reason. Why? Ew, gross. All right, let's do the thing.
We can come together in the same room. It's a different relationship. It's a different.
Do y'all like my setup?
So what do you want to do? Attack.
All right, can y'all hear okay?
We have rewritten the player's handbook from beginning to end. So yeah, if someone asks us what's new,
Yes.
Making the sections up front that are all about welcoming you into the game and teaching you what the game is before you actually start building a character
Right.
are hugely important.
this is the first player's handbook in the game's half-century of life that teaches you how to play before it tells you anything else.
Just super approachable. It feels like it's way
That's
more
'cause I was muted.
welcoming than
Hi,
ever.
everybody. I was talking this whole time.
I love
Do you like my
making
new
changes
setup?
to the game based
I
on what the
dragged
fans
my
have
sofa
said.
in here
Dark vision.
just for you.
The cat has dark vision.
And I also, look, I brought a drink. And I brought popcorn. Look, see? Look, it's immersive.
In 2024, and it almost feels like there's more life and fun potential, and there's
Ta-da!
more energy that's just waiting to be released in the 2024 Player's Handbook.
We have
I did.
brand new
Hi, Zach.
spells, enhanced
My legs are in the
spells,
living
brand new
room. But I
feats,
have my
character
co-star
options that weren't
Thembershot
there
here.
before, more subclasses than were available before, ways to customize your character that you never could before. Your character's background now influences who your
I don't know what they're
character
talking about. I
is
should probably
through
pay
the
attention to
life
this.
of that character in ways that it never did before. Every species option in the book has been redesigned. It is a complete reimagining of the book. When we embarked on the redesign of the Player's Handbook, one of my big priorities for our work was to create a way for our weapon-focused characters to engage with the game in new tactical ways. We created Weapon Mastery to give our fighters, rogues, rangers, paladins, barbarians, and others, really any character who is all about using weapons, a set of tactical gameplay options that they never had before. We wanted them to feel like, just as our spellcasters do, that each round they have a set of options that can meaningfully alter the tactical situation in a battle. We've been working with our friends on the D&D Beyond team so that when you go in and you've purchased the new player's handbook, you will be able to enjoy weapon mastery on a character who has access to that feature.
Everything is new in the player's handbook. I think every piece of art
Good
is
thing
new.
that part's
Everything's illustrated,
pre-recorded,
so
am I
the players
right?
get to see trying to support the text as much as possible.
I love that piece
with
of artwork with
Options
the
for your
bard.
characters, options for your spells, options for everything you can play as, basically.
Being able to identify with all the characters that are available makes them feel like they're part of it, and they can visualize it better if they can see themselves in these worlds.
The rules glossary in the player's handbook is a super handy reference. You can just go and
No, it's
alphabetically
not.
find whatever crunchy detail of the rules you need
hate
to
the
know
rules
in the
glossary.
moment.
A number of the people who've already seen the book often say, this whole book is great, but I would buy this book just for the rules glossary.
The 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide is really a top-to-bottom rewrite of the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide. It is chock full of advice for Dungeon Masters, old and new, for you to really take it and run with it.
There is a big, fat honkin' treasures chapter in the DMG, which is not surprising to anybody who's seen DMGs of old. We've got 100 pages or so of magic items in the DMG. Many of them are new, just so we have a very well-rounded selection of magic items to choose from.
I think the combo of the PHB and the DMG combined really feels like something that will be way easier for a new player to experience, from whether you want to be a DM or a player.
There's so much more art in this book than there was in the last one. And 99% of the art in this book is new.
Dragons are cool, and we like dragons.
This is by far the most monster-packed monster manual D&D has ever had. Part of that, frankly, is when I was drafting the original outline, I just couldn't stop. Yes, the monster manual is about giving you the rules for the monsters and cool art. Really, for me, it's this massive tome of inspiration.
I'm working on the monster manual. I think about when I was a kid picking up the book and being like, this is the coolest creature I've ever seen. I want to make a campaign with this in it. Or like, I'm just obsessed with how a Displacer Beast looks. I want to make this monster manual
That is some
amazing.
nice Displacer Beast art.
I'm so excited for other people to be able to read and engage, and just opening the doors for more and more folks to jump in on this. It's going to be so much fun.
We're working on translating the Player's Handbook and the other core books into French and Italian and German and Spanish.
It's so wonderful when we can have translated versions to make it easier for the next generation of D&D fans in other parts of the world to jump right into the game and start playing.
Genuinely, I love this game, and I think it helps so many people from a role play perspective, a friend perspective, and just a way to hang out with your friends to get to know new people. And if it can let you play better or find new things, or even better, find new friends and find social groups and express yourself in a way that you've never been able to do, that's great.
So when we think about D&D into the future, one of the ways that we're thinking about it is, what can we offer our fans that are the best versions of things that they've never seen before and things that they may have experienced but they want more of?
A dragon anthology,
book
huh?
will be the first anthology and adventure book for the new 2024 rules.
This anthology is all about dragons in dungeons, and it's kind of surprising how many people say that they've actually never fought a dragon in D&D.
It is a book of 10 short adventures that all feature dragons in dungeons.
We have an amazing new starter set that we are creating. We really lean into using components to teach people how to play.
I'm always fascinated by playing with new players. So the first time that a group sees a beholder and doesn't know how many eyes it has or what they do, it's going to be an epic moment for them. For the context of this box, it's in a place called the Borderlands, and it takes the players to kind of these three settings. There's the keep on the Borderlands, there's the wilderness itself, and then there is the Caves of Chaos. It sets them forth on this, this awesome journey that they can have for years and years and years, and hopefully bring that starter experience to someone else down the line.
We can't say enough about how grateful we are to the local game store community. So how do we set it up so that they can create these
I need to
amazing,
start getting
beautiful play
minis.
events? Part of the way that we're doing that is game stores will now get early access to our releases 2 weeks early. And those releases will be supported by play programs so that a store owner can go, hey, you've got your book early, and now here's some adventures to play along with it, with all of your friends in the store. One thing I love the most in this world is that's when I can bring Magic and D&D together. They're both just so special to so many folks.
Of course.
And Magic is going to highlight D&D's 50th anniversary with some secret lair drops today.
Oh.
What's your favorite part of D&D?
The minifigs.
The next step for us with LEGO is really to explore what it looks like beyond a major set. And so we're doing 12 minifigs. Those are gonna come out on 9/1, so very, very, very soon. How exciting is that?
To be part of a community of authors and creators that grow my game table more than just the people sitting at it is so special.
Oh, there's
That's
Kelly
kind
and
of been the dream,
Monty.
is to be a part of that. We're very
They're
excited
really
to
sweet.
just add our voice and our passion to the bigger picture.
We're so excited to have so many people making and sharing their D&D content with other people. We're thrilled to announce some of our partnerships with creators that you know and love, whose content will be coming to the D&D Beyond Marketplace.
I didn't know Free League was coming to the D&D
Part
Beyond
of
Marketplace. That's
our
interesting.
reimagining of D&D's core books was us also wanting to return to D&D's most popular setting, the Forgotten Realms.
We are super excited about the Forgotten Realms guide. There hasn't been a player's guide in 5th edition.
It's too much to fit into one book. So our return to the realms is going to be in 2 books. One tailor-made for dungeon masters, and the other a book that is tailor-made for players, but also of use to our DMs.
We start the new player options. Lots of great, crunchy stuff for players to dig into to make new characters. New subclasses, new feats, new backgrounds, new spells, new kinds of spells. And then a chapter on factions that player characters can belong to. A lot of these will be factions that you'll recognize, like the Harpers or the Red Wizards of Thay, and maybe a couple of new ones that maybe got promoted.
Then over in the Dungeon Master focused book, that's where we're really going to dig into different parts of the realms.
If you want to do urban fantasy, well, we've got Baldur's Gate just for you. If you want to go do survival horror, you can take your adventure off to Icewind Dale. We've got sort of classic D&D fantasy where you have all these little isolated towns that live around this giant elvish mega dungeon that you can go into and explore. There's the Dale Lands for you. And maybe you're having some fairy stories or you're having conflict that you can resolve without violence. That's all the Moonshae Isles. And then finally, the land of Kalimshan.
Each one of those both delivers on a different play style and just almost a different biome and like world that you can inhabit from a fantasy perspective.
I'm thrilled to be creating source books for players and DMs that will invite them back into that world in a way that we haven't done in years.
We're really looking to set up a future where everyone has this like shared resource of tools and ways to connect and play together so that they can take that experience and share it with their friends, share their creativity together, and create the next 50 years of D&D.
Interesting. It'll be real interesting to see if they stick to this release
I
schedule
saved
or
you,
if there's any delays.
And I'm here to save you again.
So many of us played Baldur's Gate 3.
What in the sweet hells were you thinking?
This is the opportunity for people to continue their adventures in this new way
Oh,
to play
here's the
D&D.
VTT.
We have this 3D sandbox where you can bring your friends and play D&D with all of these cool 3D environment pieces and miniatures that come with the product. You can start experiencing a role-playing game, but in a more digital-friendly format.
You go take those characters, Asterion and Karlak, you get to play with them and just tell your own tale.
Where people who may be used to video games actually get to see the thing that you're talking about instead of just trying to imagine it.
And it's not meant to replace your imagination. In fact, you actually need a lot of imagination still
You actually just pick up the miniatures and move them around, and you can build things like you would build at your table with 3D terrain pieces. You have 3D characters that you can look at, manipulate, dress up. What we're trying to do is get the most fast, fun, accessible version of the game.
It's basically playing D&D on your own virtual tabletop. Just easy, fast, fun. If you played with minis before, you're just playing with minis here. It's just a place for you to connect with your friends online whenever you want.
Yeah, the subtitles were a little off on that one. I will say, when I tried this at PAX Unplugged last year, it was pretty fun to play around with.
And tell your own story.
And it was pretty intuitive already to build with. Ted and I got to experience that a little bit.
And of course you can make monsters, but we want you to be able to add sound effects, visual effects.
The adventure that we created to start your journey in the 3D sandbox is called Danger in Dunbarrow.
This is like the best starter pack that's ever existed for Dungeons & Dragons.
You can also bring in any character from D&D Beyond, and it will bring in all of your equipment and all of your abilities and spells.
This integration was already seamless last year, and it was pretty cool to play around with.
We also have a thing we're calling the Mini Maker, different scales, sizes, the look of it.
The awesome thing about D&D is you can continue to get like magical items, and then you can go back to your character and redress them up over and over again and show your individuality within the group, and you just feel the progression.
We're really trying to capture this toyetic vibe. So all of our assets are created in a way that's like actually buying like a high-end mini or figure. We want it to feel kind of painted, but kind of realistic. Trying to capture that beautiful in-between where art and figures and games come together.
We have an idea that's called a module. It's a D&D mini adventure meant to last a few hours just so that you can get a taste or get a part of your adventure. We didn't want to tell the whole story for you, so we give you these places. You want to go to a graveyard? Well, here's a graveyard. You want to go to a mine? You want to go to town? You can then assemble them how you want, but each has a pre-made story in it, characters, adventures, and so it's a great place to start. You're modding games more than making everything whole cloth, which is just faster and more fun for most people.
Well, we also have a builder, which is awesome. So you can create your own dungeon, you can create your own forest.
The level builder is sort of like the best miniature set that you could have, and it's at your fingertips.
It comes in a variety of different kit pieces, so you can snap together multiple walls.
It's really strong for DMs because you can use the level builder to make something very quickly, or you can spend as much time as you want to on it, whatever story they're trying to tell.
And the Dungeon Master has to have secrets, has to be able to surprise the players. We have secret doors and traps, right? We have gizmos like, lifts that go up and down, all sorts of crazy stuff. Really make that storytelling dynamic.
2D tokens are our way to let you bring in like every monster that can put any image on there, or you can bring in your own image and create a unique character.
You don't even have to play Dungeons & Dragons necessarily, right? If you want to throw in your own custom rule set or another game, we roll dice, we have toys, like go crazy. We're starting with Dungeons & Dragons, but there's so much more you can do with it. All sorts of kinds of games and all sorts of types of toys that we want to add over the years.
We're opening it up so you can bring in any kind of character you want, like fight Drist against a robot. You'll be able to do that with all the groups that we're working with.
It's great
fucking
because
Optimus
we're
Prime.
using those characters and
Get out of
we're
here,
telling
wizards.
stories, but we're giving them over to the players too, so you can really play out what you've always wanted to do. The big deal is it wouldn't be Dungeons & Dragons if you couldn't share it. Right? There's a huge creator community. They're the ones who've kept the game growing and going. So people are gonna be able to share these with each other. We're integrated with D&D Beyond. It's able to very easily organize information and create characters so that you can play that same character either in a book, on a piece of paper, on the web, or in this 3D immersive world. And if you have an original 2D map, you can easily upload that through D&D Beyond's map feature. With just one click, you can share that map into Project Sigil, drop down your minis, and keep right on playing. We're starting off on PC, but we want to go everywhere because we want to connect players across mobile, console, and I don't know, maybe even your fridge. Wherever you want to play,
They talked about this at the press event.
This 3D immersive experience is
popcorn?
going to be available for free.
What about
to
my
try
popcorn?
out. But also players are going to get it. DMs are going to get even more advanced
Get this
tools.
popcorn?
And we're going to offer even deeper, richer experiences for those who really want
Looks
to
real to
dedicate
me.
themselves to the 3D side of this. Whether it's D&D Beyond, the books, or the 3D experience, we just want to make it easier, faster, put more creative control in your hands.
We want to thank you for being a part of the exciting development of Project Sigil and invite everyone with a D&D Beyond account to join the closed beta.
I will say their
coming this
integration
fall.
process has
Sign
been
up
really
for
impressive
free
to
right
see.
now
That was already pretty
dndbeyond.com
seamless last December when I saw it.
/Sigil. And as an extra bonus, when you pre-order the 2024 digital and physical horror rulebook bundle, you will get this awesome Gold Dragon Mini to kickstart your Project Sigil collection.
Is this all just pre-recorded video this year? Hello, Wizards? If anyone has the direct pulled up, the chat in the direct is just popping off right now. Okay. That was it. That was, I think, one of the shortest directs. And it had nothing new that I didn't already know other than the book releases. That was very interesting. What do you guys think about what we saw today? Let's see. To recap, we're getting the Dragon Anthology, 10 Adventures, Fall 25 starter set. You can go to the Borderlands, Keep, Wilderness, Caves of Chaos. Game stores are getting access 2 weeks early, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that honestly, that could have been an email. I made an overlay for this. But yeah, it is what it is. Let's close that. Oh, there we go. Yeah, let me see if Ted wants to hop on here. It might take a quick break and hook up with Ted for some D&D chat. All right, folks. I'm going to go on a quick break, and then I will be back with Ted from Nerd Immersion, and we will talk about everything that we just saw. Yeah, I'm all right. Look, we're content creators, okay? We show up for content. I even had a little bit with popcorn in front of me on the screen and a popcorn bowl. I was blowing people's minds, and that could have been a movie trailer. All right. So those watching over on my channel, we are going to be going through the YouTube live frame by frame. I'm just going to be talking about it because I'm too lazy to do as much work as Ted does. But if you ask really nicely, I might add it. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're really going to dive in when we get to the Dungeon Master's Guide. Oh, well,
Mhm.
there you go. There's the cat stat block, right? That's at 2 minutes and 16 seconds. For those of you who want to follow along at home, the big one that they said is cats have dark vision, but so do, I think, dogs now have dark vision as well. And what I thought was interesting is they've actually removed a lot of things to keep these stat blocks smaller. So, for example, I think it's the wolf used to have, what's it called, keen hearing or keen senses or whatever.
Yeah.
And they pulled that out and they just like gave it expertise and perception instead to kind of not have to have, I guess, the semantics of advantage on saving throw or perception checks based on hearing or smell. It's just expertise and perception across the board. What do you think about the new stat blocks? I know it's very polarizing to people.
It is. Personally, I like them. Sorry, chat. I know that just covered everything. I swear to God, I'm a freaking professional, everyone.
Yeah.
I like them now that I understand more what they're going for. It makes more sense, especially after a conversation yesterday, and seeing something with spell casting on it, because that was my big question as well. Okay, I don't really like that mods and saves are all in the same spot because that messes with my little chicken nugget brain, but I guess I'll get used to it eventually. But overall, the information I need is there, so it's just a matter of getting used to it. Until we saw that green dragon yesterday, I didn't really have much of an opinion until I knew how that aspect of stat blocks were going to be working.
Another thing I'm noticing is, I mean, I saw that they called out initiative, right? You can see it says initiative +2 at the top. Do you notice there's that 12 next to it? That's new. So that's if you don't want to roll initiative for a cat, you just set its initiative at 12. So if you don't want to be rolling to keep track of dice on your end, I'm assuming it's just going to be, I don't know, I'd have to look, but I'm assuming it's just going to be 10 plus the initiative modifier. So like if your, dexterity was 20, you'd have a 15 initiative. But I'm wondering if they did actually take the time to give each creature its own number. So that way, if you're just like at a quick glance, you could just pop it in. This is where it comes in the initiative.
I don't, my copy's in the other room. Do you have your PHB on you? What do the stat blocks in there have?
Let's see, are they all, we'll do a quick, so Toad has 10 dexterity, 0 initiative. Mastiff is 14. So yeah, it looks like it's just it's plus 10. It's the initiative number plus 10. So it's dexterity modifier plus 10.
Okay.
All right, let us keep going here through our stat blocks and see. It was obviously, if you didn't realize this, it was all pre-recorded. This was not a live D&D Direct where they were giving it to us as it happened. We were getting it all kind of a pre-recorded stuff, which is fine. You can
How do I go forward a frame?
It is period is forward a frame, comma is backwards a frame. Yes, it's basically passive initiative. When you jump up to 2 minutes and 33 seconds, it actually gives you the entirety of the first page of the spell chapter, which actually called out something I didn't realize, which talks about like spell preparation by class, because they removed, I don't know if you noticed, spells known is not a term anymore. It's all spells prepared.
Yes.
And this table kind of breaks it down, and it says for a bard, you can change one spell when you gain a level, right? So, which is what it was before, but that's just written out here. But interestingly enough, paladins and rangers can change out their spells on a long rest, but they can only change out one spell on a long rest, which means paladins used to be able to have their entire list of preparations. Now it's just a single spell can swap out on a long rest. But rangers get the versatility of having that as well, not having to wait till the level up.
Does that change your opinion of the ranger yet? Asking the tough questions here.
It is a very slight improvement because it gives them a little bit more versatility.
Okay. I'm getting a question. Have they mentioned the legendary resistances now, given you're seeing the green dragon stat block?
Legendary resistance was in there, and it functions the same.
Yeah.
But it did have more uses of it. But no legendary actions, just multiple reactions now. Seems to be where we're going with this.
If you stick around to the end, we might have time to cover that too. Thanks for your question, though.
If you get to, it's 236. This is the first time they're showing off the beginning of chapter 5, which they've shown this artwork quite a bunch, but you can see the beginning of the feat list. Nothing really too crazy here, although I will say a shout out to rpgbot.net, who I noticed there was a difference in the epic boon feats in the PDF early access copy versus the printed book. There were differences there. So, as an example, most of them just let you raise an ability score of your choice by 1 beyond 20. And in the PDF, most of them had like raise your strength or your dexterity or raise your charisma or your whatever, not pick a ability score. So they changed that to the printed version. And I know for a fact the boon of combat prowess in the early access PDF said when you make an attack roll with a weapon or an unarmed strike, you can just make it hit instead. And here it's just been changed to an attack roll, so it works for spells. So there was some slight differences between the early access PDFs and what we got in the physical printed book.
I wonder if there's going to be another difference between what we got at Gen Con versus what goes out to the public.
It shouldn't.
I wouldn't think so, but that's interesting that you all were making content on.
They also assured us there wouldn't be any significant changes. Which it is a minor change. I wouldn't it didn't warrant its own video. Like, this is totally different. It's just like, okay, it's a little bit of, it's more freedom of choice, which is fine. We don't mind that.
Also, how cool is this artwork that's on this page too?
Yeah, they've really, this is some, and it flat
stuff.
out tells you that it's in Castle Ravenloft, so they're very big on the player's handbook, showing off different worlds, right? So I think there's one in here that's Eberron. There's a couple other ones, so they're showing off the different aspects of it. All right. Oh, so if we go to 238, just a little bit further, you can basically see all of the simple weapons, all of the simple ranged weapons, and all of the martial melee weapons. So you can also tell that there is no new ones here, at least in those aspects. It cuts off below the ranged weapons where the pistol and the musket are, but no new weapon types, which was a bummer because I was hoping for something. And you can see a handful of the weapon mastery properties here: cleave, graze, nick, push, sap, slow, topple. The only one missing there is vex. So again, if you're keen-eyed and want to take a look at this. Also, the thing that I brought up about swapping weapons, you can see the end part of the light weapon property over there. So just a little bit more of, for folks who don't have access to the book yet and want to really dive in and read things, it's all available to you there. Moving forward. Okay, here it is, 243. It's not every single tool, but this is a large section of the tool proficiency. And most people, I don't think, have seen this.
No, and correct me if I'm misremembering. This was something that I think Crawford touched on wanting to make tools feel more important in this edition at the press event. Am I misremembering that?
Did. No, that is
Okay.
correct. So if you can see it on screen, the sort of breakdown is you have the tool's name, you have an associated gold piece, and then there's a couple of blocks, right? So this is kind of a weird one, but the ability is they've now codified a singular ability score to work with each tool. So for example, Carpenter's tools uses strength, which previously it was kind of, and I could see the confusion and maybe why you want to give it a hard ability score, because like if someone's like, I don't know, make me a wood carving check, and you're like, I don't know, what do I do with that? Like, I'm proficient with it, sure, so I had my proficiency bonus, but like, I don't know, is it intelligence? Is it dexterity?
It was a GM's call, because I've had this conversation multiple times because I have a rogue in my party, that it's your dexterity plus your proficiency bonuses on a d20 roll, but people just don't want to deal with it, so they just say, oh, I'll roll sleight of hand, but sleight of hand isn't lockpicking, that's street magic.
Yes,
This is
correct.
something I'm very passionate about. That's my one rule that I get passionate about.
Well, I mean, you could, and to your point, right, they did have, I don't know if it still exists on the new rogue, I'd have to look, but when you would take your expertise as a rogue, at least in 2014, it had you specify if you wanted it in Thieves' Tools or in Sleight of Hand, you'd have to pick.
Yeah.
So that was a difference in that respect.
Because they're not the same.
Correct. I would agree. And then the new action is called the Utilize action, which was previously like the use an object, use an item. The Utilize action is a codified action in the list of actions that you can take. This refers to only the usage of non-magical items. Magic items require the magic action, which is the same action as casting a spell. They're all captured under the magic action. So if you want to use your tools in some way, because utilize a tool is an action now, you can use them to do one of the many things you see here. Probably one of the weirdest ones that I think I might like the most is the Cobbler's Tools Utilize action, which is you can modify footwear to give advantage on the wearer's next dexterity acrobatics check if you succeed on a DC 10 cobbler tool check. So like, but that's like what were you going to do with your cobbler's tools before? Other than like you took it for a background reason, and in a very, very minimal chance you'll ever actually probably use those in game unless you really focus in on that, you know?
I'm interested to see what the additional rules will be, because it's showing us that we're also going to get a crafting equipment section later in this chapter up top. So I'm interested to see what else they have to say about how this functions.
They tell you what you can make with it, right? That's the craft section.
Yeah.
Like, so there is some, because some people might say like, okay, well, what about smiths? Like, what can I make with smith's tools? And you'll notice that in the smith's tools, it says any melee weapon except club, great club, quarterstaff, and whip, and any medium armor except hide armor, because carpenter's tools and wood carver's tools allow you to craft clubs, great clubs, and quarterstaffs, and leatherworking tools will let you make a whip, as well as hide armor. So it specifies the difference. I mean, again, this is purely up to you and your DM how much this is probably going to come into play, but you know, more often than not, if you're like I want to make weapons, smith tools always just felt like the way to do it. But now it's kind of given a little bit of nuancy separation between the two to help you figure out like what makes why would I want alchemist tools over herbalism kit, right? Like,
yeah, the forgery kit wording is interesting as well, because they're saying that you can mimic 10 or fewer words of someone else's handwriting, so you can't necessarily duplicate and forge a full document with a kit.
And that's only if you hit a DC 15 check. But you could duplicate a wax seal, which I argue would be much more useful in the long run.
Potentially,
for a
yeah.
DC 20. And then the variance is very specific, but the variance really only exists for things where there's multiple iterations of it, like a gaming set or a musical instrument. And probably what I think is going to piss off a lot of people is if you make a DC 20 gaming set check, you win. If you look at the utilize action for gaming sets, a DC 20 is win the game. So you just win. If you make a DC 20 check with if you're playing cards, you have a playing cards gaming set proficiency, and you can make a DC 20 wisdom check with that, you win. Hands down. No back and forth, no series of checks. DC 20, you win. Hands down.
I can see a few TikToks being made about being able to win D&D with that rule.
Yeah, so this correct, Max, you're right. So this is how you win D&D. You win the game.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it works. So, but anyway, I wanted to show this off because they also went on to say, under the utilize action, it says this entry lists things you can do with this tool when you take the utilize action. You can do one of these things each time you take the action. The entry provides the DC. Tool proficiency. If you have proficiency with a tool, add your proficiency bonus to any ability check you make with said tool. I feel like that makes sense. It's always been that way. If you have proficiency in a skill that's used with that check, you have advantage on that check too. Now that's a thing from Xanathar's guide, but here's the other interesting thing. It doesn't list skills. If you notice that, because it says if you have proficiency in a skill that's used with that check, you have advantage on that check too. But at least the ones they're showing on screen don't list. I guess maybe if you're doing a cobbler's, no, because the cobbler's tools check is the wearer's acrobatics check.
That's interesting.
I don't see.
Maybe it might be clarified later.
Yeah, because even Thieves' Tools says pick a lock or disarm a trap. It doesn't say make a sleight of hand check to pick a lock. Because if it said that, then and you had sleight of hand proficiency and Thieves' Tools proficiency, you would have advantage. I think that's going to be something that's going to be essentially a DM. It feels like it might have just been they kept it in there because that's what they had, but it doesn't really. None of them list a skill check to make, because you could say an herbalism kit, the utilize action is identify a plant for DC 10. So in theory, one who could think through this logically could say, okay, well that also could be a nature check, right?
You know what I think it is?
It's not a nature check. It's a utilize check.
I think. Okay, so they have an ability next to them. I don't think it's directing you to a skill check because the skills are all underneath the flag of the abilities, right? So I think that's what they're going for is you pick from something having to do with strength. You pick from something having to do with wisdom.
Okay.
I think that's what the logic is with the setup and how you would deal with that.
If you have proficiency in a skill that's used with that check, you have advantage on the check too. So I guess in theory, if we're following your logic, right? Probably the easiest one would be musical instrument, right? If you have musical instrument proficiency and proficiency in performance, you're going to make a musical instrument check, which is to play a tune is DC 10, or to improvise a song is a DC 15. And then you would make a charisma check or a performance check, perhaps. Because also, interestingly enough, making a performance check is different than playing a known tune or improvising a song, which are separate things tied to the item. But I would allow, again, if you had performance and you were doing this, you're going to have advantage because you have both. Because I guess you could get into a situation where you have a musical instrument proficiency, but not proficiency in performance. Or vice versa. You have proficiency in performance, but not a musical instrument. So I guess I could see that one makes sense because that's the easiest one.
I'm looking at the ones having, let me see, Smith's Tools.
Is a strength check.
Yeah.
So if it's a strength check, well, if I was going to have, but then it's utilize action. The only one listed is to pry open a door or a container. But I would normally tell you make an athletics check to pry open a door. So I guess if you have both, then I'm just going to give you advantage on the check. I think
Sounds
is
like
how
it,
it's
yeah.
determined.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I don't love the wording because
Yeah.
it feels like you could have said, pry open a door or container, with an athletics check. You know what I mean? Like some kind of wording that put athletics in the tool
Mm-hmm.
so that you're like, oh, okay, if I have athletics, that makes sense. I don't know. Also, congratulations, by the way, in your proficiency with Disguise Kit, because you successfully applied makeup, which is a DC 10. So applying makeup is a DC 10 for a Disguise Kit. So you did it. You
Get
are
out
at
of here,
least,
Ted.
you can make it. Hey, listen, you can make at least a DC 10 makeup check in real life, which means you could start backwards filling yourself into what your skills and your ability scores in real life are.
Thank you for
It's better than
quantifying my career mechanically.
You're right. I did. We got it for you.
Okay,
So
well then
listen,
what's
I
your
can't do it,
modifier and
so-
hang on, where's the geology crap? What's your intelligence score, Ted?
Oh, I don't know. What?
Tell me
give
about
give
rocks,
me the-
Ted. How good are you talk about
Okay.
rocks?
Okay, hang on. So chiseling a symbol or a
Mhm.
hole in a piece of stone
Right.
is a DC 10 check
Right.
based off of strength. So in
Right.
theory, if I can successfully make a symbol in a rock, I can hit a DC 10 check, which means,
Mhm.
well, really what we have to figure out is what is our proficiency bonus, right? Because if your proficiency bonus is a 2, right, say your base level, you're starting at like level 5 and under, that means that your charisma is a 25. So, I mean, to be able to hit that, or we're not factoring in what you're rolling every day to see what you're making on the check. You know what I mean?
I mean, if we're
Because there's
going with like historically my rolls are like under 10 constantly. So,
Okay, so I mean that means if you're rolling under 10, you've got a 2 in your proficiency bonus. That means you're sitting at least 12 on your disguise kit. You're at least a 12 charisma score, if not higher than that.
I at least know that the lipstick is for my lips and not my eyes. That's
Listen, I can't promise you that I could figure that out. So you got me beat by quite a bit there.
I think you could do it.
I think maybe. I don't know.
Should
We'll
we
see.
move on? This is getting silly.
Let's move on. Yes, it is, but that's fine. Listen, 500 and something people want to hear us talk about this apparently, so we'll keep going.
Let me
but
make
anyway,
sure I
my
don't have
point.
any questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm making a locksmith check and I have a proficiency with thieves' tools and proficiency with sleight of hand, I'm going to make the lockpick check with advantage. If you have it proficiency with, what was the ruling again?
It was it says dexterity, so
It
it
would
would be.
it was
So
dexterity.
in theory, yes.
So yes,
Which
that is correct.
That makes it. I guess those are the two most quantifiable examples. I would imagine is the musical instrument and performance, and probably lock picking and sleight of hand.
I think
you
it's
don't-
gonna. I know I don't like it. Because that's not what sleight of hand is.
No, I understand. Well, okay. Well, how about this? Okay.
I feel about sleight
let-
of hand like you feel about the ranger, Ted.
Listen, that's fine. Let's go for a different, more like obscure example. So weaver's tools, right? So that's mending tears in clothing, sewing tiny things. That's a dexterity ability score is what it lists. So if we're saying it's proficiency in a dexterity based skill that applies to weaver's tools to get advantage, is that one sleight of hand? For weaver's tools, you know what I mean? The ability to move, because look at your other dexterity checks, right? You've got what, acrobatics and stealth, I think, are the only other two.
Yeah.
And I would argue
it's one of
that-
those things that here's my argument for how this is going to work.
Yeah.
It's you're
please.
not just because you have proficiency in one of the things under there when you're asked to do the check, you might not necessarily be granted that that advantage. I think this is going to be one of those things that's going to be very situational and very much up to the DM to determine, yes, because you can have advantage. I'm wondering.
So
I
I'm
need
going
to
to
go
pull up
deep dive the
Xanathar's
rogues.
guide. because Xanathar's guide had these rules originally.
Okay.
Now okay, you ready? So here's a trick here. So we'll go to you can see Carpenter's tools there, right? It has strength is the ability score, seal or pry open a door or container is a DC 20, right? So under Carpenter's tools in Xanathar's guide, it says it lists history. This tool proficiency aids you in identifying the use and origin of wooden buildings and other large wooden objects. Investigation. Gain additional insight when inspecting areas within wooden structures because you know the tricks of construction that conceal areas from discovery. Perception. You can spot irregularities in wood walls or floors, making it easier to find doors and secret passages. Or stealth. You can quickly assess the weak spots in a wooden floor, making it easier to avoid the places that creak and groan when stepped on. Now, see, that actually gave you codified uses for skills. So if I had proficiency in history and Carpenter's tools, and I was making a history check to identify the origin of this wooden building, I would make that with advantage, which makes sense to me. Right? If I'm trying to stealth through a creaky wooden floorboard building and I have proficiency in Carpenter's tools that says, hey, I know what to look for to avoid, I'd make my stealth check with advantage. That makes sense, but they spelled that out for you to make it make sense. And I think they're pulling the general like essence of that terminology to throw it in here, but they didn't go into it more in depth like that because maybe we're thinking about it backwards. Maybe it's supposed to be how it's kind of written here, which is these are supposed to provide you advantage on the other checks. So like having proficiency in navigator's tools should give me advantage on survival checks to navigate. You know what I mean? I think it's listed under the tools section, which doesn't make sense, but I think that's what it's meant to do. But also, it's just not spelled out that clearly, so it doesn't really help.
This is one of many instances once people get their hands on this where things are just. That's why I'm so interested to get my hands on the DMG because there's just so much that I feel like is going to get clarified when we have what the DM is supposed to be reading versus just what the players get.
Yeah, they're being a little too concise. We've got over here in chat, and I think that's true because I think there was a goal in streamlining, right, and making things a little easier, removing words and qualifiers that were situational, right? Like we talked about suggestion in one of my videos, how suggestion used to say you need to word the suggestion in such a way that is reasonable. What is reasonable? What's reasonable to me might not be reasonable to you. But the new wording says the goal of the suggestion needs to be achievable. And that makes sense, right? You can either do it or you can't. It's not like, well, how do you find this reasonable? And that's like, well, I do. And you could be like, well, I don't. I'm the dungeon master. So no, that doesn't work, you know?
I don't know. I'm just here to hug a bugbear and fight a dragon. Oh.
Well, okay, fair. This may be a little too minutia based for this discussion. But
I get what you're talking about, though. Yeah. I'm just being a little shit.
I think they went a little too. They could have put more in here, is what I think I'm getting at. You could have added more text, and you went for less, and it's a little confusing.
I agree with you because I think they went light on text and went heavy on text in areas that they didn't need it. Like if you flip over just a couple more pages, go into adventuring gear. I don't need you to describe what a bucket is.
No, but you need to know what a bucket is.
I don't need that codified in the text. That is not something like this could have been these 2 pages could have been a chart. This could have been an email tag.
How would you know that it can hold a half a cubic foot of contents? Don't you often measure the amount of water you put in a bucket in cubic feet? Which is almost impossible to calculate because it's circular. So like how is yours, do you remember the area of a cylinder? Because that's what we're talking about.
But
here.
You know what I have? I have a bucket out in my shed. I'm going to go fill it with water. I'm going to drive it all the way to your house and dump it over you. And then you can tell me how much water was in the bucket. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
But this is one of those things where I wish they would have spent less time on, let's see, how many pages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 pages that this could have just been a chart. Really?
Yeah.
There's some things in here like I want to know what's in the climber's kit. I want to know what's in the entertainers pack. Like I want to know those things.
Mhm.
But I think most people are gonna know the difference between traveler's clothes and fine clothes and
Hang on.
a costume.
Maybe there's an important distinction. It really doesn't do that. Does it really
I
do
mean,
that?
like when you come to costume, it says you have advantage on an ability check you make to impersonate the person or type of person it represents. But I feel like traveler's clothes are resilient garments designed for travel in various environments.
Okay, well, did you know that if you sleep in a bedroll, you automatically succeed on saving throws against extreme cold? You didn't know that before. Now you do. It's listed out here under bedroll. So
That doesn't make sense.
It's cozy.
I've been camping. That makes no sense.
I know, but my point is, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's
they've removed the length on rope. It's just rope now. There's no hempen. There's no silk. It's just rope now.
Did you know that a flask holds 1 pint?
Well, that's important because a vial holds 4 ounces, which is separate than a bottle, which holds 1.5 pints.
I feel like this is an argument that we're gonna have for many years to come.
Okay. Well, if we want to take this a step further,
Did you know that a map gives you a +5 bonus to your wisdom check to navigate, Ted?
Did you know maps weren't listed as an item you could buy in the 2014 Player's Handbook?
That's
dumb. They added maps to 2024. But
a jug holds a gallon.
Well, so here's an important thing, and Bob out there, Bob, World Builder, if you're listening, what is a potion of healing? Is it held in a vial? Because then it's only 4 ounces, and you might be able to drink that and still do something else on your turn. But if it's a bottle, which is 1.5 pints, you can picture a pint glass, 1.5 pints of that, and then doing something else in less than 6 seconds. Probably not going to happen. That's a bottle.
Okay.
But a vial's only 4 ounces.
Hear me out.
So, yeah, well, let's.
Next year at Gen Con, I'm pitching you this idea because I'm going to need your help to pull it off.
Yeah,
Creators minute to win it based on the volume of things that are in here. Minute to win it games, got to drink a potion and do something else that's kind of complicated.
Okay.
What do you think? Think we can turn that into something?
Also, from personal experience, now you know that a shovel for 1 hour's worth of work, you can shovel to dig a hole 5 feet on each side. A 5-foot hole, 5 feet deep by 5 feet round in an hour. Now, it does say in soil or similar material. That is a drastically specific question. But, I mean, I don't know if you've ever dug a 5-foot deep hole. That's not easy. And 5 feet wide? Like, I mean, adventurers are pretty solid workers. Look, they could do that easily in an hour.
I will admit, I could not be an adventurer. I struggle to bury plants when I come home with those little plants from Home Depot, okay? But adventurers need that codified because where are they going to put all the bodies from being little murder hobos?
Yeah, and you know
where
what?
Are they going to put them?
Take you longer than an hour because if you want to bury them 6 feet deep, that takes over an hour.
It does.
So
now you know, everybody. Plan your murder hoboing wisely from here on out.
Agile Monk here in the chat. Sarah and Ted playing the Did You Know game. This is precious. Love you both. We might turn this into a TikTok series, and it'll be Ted and Sarah Did You Know, and it'll just be like.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
That's our WizKid mini series. It's just a bunch of. It's just some little goblin minis going back and forth, Ted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Right, so that's good. Anyway, this is.
You know, I'm gonna pitch this to your audience.
If nothing else, this now exists.
It does. Speaking of my mini-series, okay. Hearts in chat if you like this with an emoji. But I tried to talk Ted into doing some skits using WizKid minis as puppets about what the monsters think after the players have left the dungeon. And just those office like water cooler talks. So if you want a series of TikToks where we impersonate little goblins or YouTube shorts. Short something. I don't know. It's going to be a minute long. We'll put it somewhere. We might put it on, I don't know, what's the one that no one uses anymore? MySpace? Is that still around?
It is still around. Well, we're getting hearts in chat here. Yes, plus 100 and less than 3 to sock puppets. Sock puppets was, yeah, we actually talked about sock
We
puppets
did.
yesterday.
See, I would see if it were me, I would want to build like an actual puppet, and I would overthink it because the little sprinkling of Virgo in my star chart would just say, "More Sarah, you're not doing enough." So we're gonna.
WizKids already sends us stuff, and then that gets us content on the stuff that they already sent over. So, but yeah. Anyway.
Hey, WizKids, can I get on the same list as Ted?
We've made it 2 minutes and 43 seconds into this 19-minute video before we got derailed here. So let's keep going. MySpace Tom, he's doing great. He sold his stuff and he's living his best life. Okay, let's keep going.
Let's see. All right.
So we're getting into some artwork showing Jalarzi fighting some Vrox. We've got Hunger of Hadar being cast.
That looks so cool.
We've got, I think that's a Brass Dragon, maybe casting Control Weather. We've got a Paladin doing Smite. I hate the Paladin Smite art, though. Can we just talk about that real quick, which is... because it just looks
with the hammer?
weird. Yeah, the hammer's backwards.
Yeah.
Do you see that? They're swinging, they're swinging. It looks like they're going to be... I mean, I guess maybe with the pick end is what they're going for. But, if you just turn the hammer, it looks better. Because, you got this big hammer...
Yeah.
It feels like you should be swinging the other way, personally.
You're supposed to be looking at it at the upswing, but my other issue with it, too, is that the light doesn't make sense where it's hitting on their face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but...
Anyway, we've got our
art is subjective, and it's all great.
That's true. Oh, I don't
there's
know
my favorite one.
This one. The fireworks?
Oh, no, I was looking at the... which was the fireworks?
There's a background art that has fireworks there. It's right after the Dragonborn monk. Or after the windmill, sorry.
Oh, that's pretty.
I don't know what that one's for, but maybe it's entertainer. There's a bunch of roses on a stage.
Or something having to do with Bard, yeah.
Then you can see they're flipping through. It is some of it is blurred, so they might not have to claim their own content. But I can see Fireball, Firebolt, and Fire Shield. They're showing off, there's the Mercy Monk art from one page. We get the Paladin art here with this Orc Paladin showing off their
This
Sunblade.
Paladin art looks really good.
We got a Barbarian and a Rogue. We once again come back to the Weapon Mastery page, showcasing that again. I love this little, Fighter, Rogue, Ranger, Paladin, Barbarian. I like that piece of art. I thought that was really cool. We got a Vengeance Paladin getting shown off here. And our
I'm trying to catch
Barbarian.
up. Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, this looked great, too.
At the front of the combat page here. They love that Dragonborn monk. That Dragonborn monk has appeared in so much art. I think it's really cool. Oh, wait, hang on. Sarah, I don't know if you saw, but I made a big deal about it. The character sheet stays the same on D&D Beyond. They showed it. They showed the character sheet.
Did they?
I know chat's tired of me talking about the character sheet, but let's keep going. So we're at 351. They clicked Barbarian. They're clicking their rate. Okay, 353. It's the
I'm
new
catching
character
up. Let me
sheet.
just...
At least from what I can tell, it's the new character sheet. I think.
Here we go. Oh.
Because if you look, it's got little stars next to the weapons showing that they have weapon mastery. And they're moused over the great axe and it shows weapon mastery. So that appears. And if you look, it says heroic inspiration under where it used to just have the inspiration check. It says heroic inspiration now. So it does appear that they kept basically the entire layout of the character sheet. This is a dwarf barbarian. You can notice it has 120 feet of dark vision, which matches the new dwarves in here. So I do believe, based on this, you can also see at the bottom under actions in combat, it says Nick with the dagger in parentheses showing the Nick weapon property. So it does appear that this is what the character sheet's going to look like. It's largely the same, just slightly revamped and a few things changed, which is exactly what I wanted, so I have no complaints.
That makes me so
happy.
happy.
I also love the new Barbarian logo. Looks fantastic.
It does.
With the axe. I'm curious. I mean, they probably have showed us that in the book, and I just didn't notice any of the new logos. But yeah, and if they a second later they click on the great axe and it shows right below it, you can see cleave in there, and then mastery cleave at the bottom. So it does showcase it all there. Apparently, they filmed a lot of this at Gen Con.
Yeah, I was surprised.
All the
I didn't.
interviews were there.
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing. Well, I mean, the interviews were done when they had that rooftop ballroom privately, but I didn't remember
But I
seeing
mean, like
cameras
they
and
had
stuff
people
around.
on the stadium floor, like Lucas Oil Stadium, because you could see the
Oh, did
Colts
they?
logos in the background on some of the interviews. Yeah.
I never made it in there. Gosh, I love this art piece of the tiefling bard.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm ahead here now at 429, looking at the rules glossary.
All right, I'll catch up in a minute.
Which is just the front page, but this is what the rules glossary looks like for folks who don't have the book. It is literally just they have a little acronym section, which I like. Those are always important to spell out what AC is, and different. If there's a little letter you're not sure what it is, it spells it out. And it just kind of, you can see there's the actions in combat, right? Attack, dash, disengage, dodge, help, hide, influence, magic, ready, search, study, utilize. So what I wanted to take, you know what? We'll take this opportunity to talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Is the actions in combat. Because most of those you'll see are the same that you're used to, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't change that much, just a little bit.
They added a little bit extra, which is maybe too much. So that page 15 spells it all out for you.
How can I forget page 15?
Right, of course, right? Attack is obviously the same. Dash is the same. Disengage, dodge, help, hide, all the same, right? So far. Magic is the renamed version of cast. It used to be cast a spell. It's now magic, but that also, as I've said, refers to magical item usage as well as any kind of magical class or species feature. Ready in action remains the same. Search, the most underutilized action in all of 2014 5e that everybody forgets. Making a perception check in combat is a whole action. Everybody forgets that, but it's there. And that's it for old actions. Now, it's covered. It was in a bunch of the Unearthed Arcana if you forgot, but the influence action is a action for dealing with social encounters. This is where you make some sort of charisma check, deception, intimidation, persuasion, or performance, or a wisdom check for animal handling to change a creature's attitudes towards you, right? So this is if they're maybe they're even keeled with you, they don't like you, they don't hate you, you could try to influence them to be more favorable to you or calm down that, there's a horse that's rampaging or a bull and you want to try to calm it down, you make your animal handling check. And there's a series of steps of friendly and hostile and whatever. So that's that. So that's an action to do that. The search action has been expanded to include insight, medicine, perception, and survival. They're all housed in there. So if you want to look at somebody to see how they're doing, if you want to see and try to read somebody and give an insight check or search for tracks, that's all part of the search action. The study action is your knowledge-based ones. That's Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, or Religion. Trying to learn something about something. And lastly, utilize, as we've already discussed ad nauseum, is using a non-magical object of some kind.
Yeah, so if you need to take your 4-ounce potion.
Correct, which may or may not be a pint and a half. We're not sure. Or, a half a cubic foot if you drink your potions by the bucket. So what I'd say probably the most important part about the search action and the study action is the revamp of the observant feat and the keen mind feat. Observant as a feat now used to have that improves your passive perception and gives you the ability to read lips. It now lets you take the search action as a bonus action in combat. That's what that does. And the keen mind lets you take the study action as a bonus action, which They don't give you too much on what you can actually do with those, but you could do them as a bonus action. So I guess that's a step in the right direction. Now, the influence action is spelled out pretty well in the rules glossary on, how to willing, unwilling, and hesitant are the terms. It used to be like friendly and hostile, and that kind of explains what they all do.
Yeah, I think with the study as a bonus action options with those feats, I think for me personally, if someone had that feat, I don't remember the feat off the top of my head, but if they took a minute to use that, I would probably give them advantage if there was something there that could help them that they wanted to use in their attack. That's just me. I handed out the candy.
The thing is it reminds me, and we talked about how 5th edition is your first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. They used to have, they used to call them basically knowledge checks, which was, and like every monster too. That's another thing. They used to have like a number, like a DC, and it's like, okay, if you make a DC 10, let's say it's a magical thing, so it's an Arcana check, right? DC 10, it provides you, and it was in each monster's stat block. DC 10, you learn this about the creature. DC 15, you know this about the creature. DC 20, whatever. So each one would tell you if you went to go make a knowledge check against it, to be like, hey, what is this? Have I ever read about this thing? And based on the type of creature, your DM would say, okay, make an Arcana check or maybe a Planes check, right? If it was like a fiend or something, you would make that check. And then based on how well you did, it would tell you in the monster stat block, here's what you give to the player. Here's what they know. And I really liked that because, one, it also made knowledge and intelligence in that instance very important because it helped a lot. It also made the booky, learny types like the wizards and such have a cool thing they could do. And there even were certain feats back then. I forget what it was called, but there was one that basically, if you made a knowledge check and you did hit a certain DC, it would give you a bonus to your attack against them because in theory you also knew enough about them to know how to fight them. And that was all, which again should be the Rangers' whole thing, but that's another story. But the study action does say, like, okay, Arcana is to learn about a big old chunk of stuff, spells, magic items, symbols, blah, blah, blah. It's page 375. So it alludes to the concept of a knowledge check. Like, this is what you use it for, is to learn about these things, and these are the skills you use to learn about those. But it doesn't give you anything about, like, here's how to present that information, here's a DC to set to use that. And in theory, the concept of being able to use it as a bonus action would be in combat. Hey, let me make an Arcana check about this Fey monster before I cast my spell to know, like, oh, it's immune to charm. Don't try to charm it. I mean, it's a Fey creature. You should know that. But either way, you know what I mean?
Look, players should know a lot of things. And I have found out as a DM over the last year, they make choices. And I'll leave it at that because I know at least one of them's watching.
Fair enough.
I think when it comes to those DCs, I think the reason they're not in here is because the DC isn't something a player would determine. I'm betting. That makes
sense.
I'm betting that it's going to be in the DMG. That's part of the reason. I don't like this. I don't like the rules glossary. I don't like how this book is laid out at all. And I don't like how things are split up because as a player, if I'm purchasing this, I also kind of want to know what my expectations are. So if I have to make checks on these, I kind of want to have in the back of my mind what those DCs are, just because my brain likes to keep everything fair and I like to know as much as I can about a thing that I like.
Sure.
So I don't like that they're not in here, but I think the reason why is because that's not a player decision. I think that's in the other one.
No, I think that makes sense, but counterpoint, the influence action says the influence check table suggests which ability to make based on what you're doing. The DM chooses the check, which has a default DC of 15, or the monster's intelligence score, whichever is higher. On a successful check, the monster does as urged. On a failed check, you must wait 24 hours before you try to push it in this way. This is, if they're hesitant.
Yeah.
But they give you that here for the influence action to tell you it's gonna be. So that's kind of a nice thing to know. Like, hey, I'm shooting for either a 15, or if this is a hyper intelligent creature, I'm trying to beat that. So you have a number. So it's just weird what gets put in here and what doesn't, and that kind of bugs me a little bit.
Yep. I don't know. When I have all three, I might just cut the binding and reassemble them myself.
Combine them all together. Yeah.
I might
That's
Frankenstein the book.
fair.
Yeah. All right. What's our
my-
next?
I'm on my video here. I'm letting them just talk it out. They're talking about how they think it's so great that you would want to just buy the rules glossary, which is not the case. But
I thought that was adorable.
okay.
Bless their hearts.
Yeah, we are okay. So I'm at 455, which is now where we're pulling in Dungeon Masters content now. Yes, Kenneth, stealth checks are a minimum 15. If you roll under a 15 on a stealth check, you do not successfully hide. Stealth check is 15 minimum, but you keep track of the number you made because that sets the DC for the monster to find you or the enemy to find you. So if you get a 14 on your stealth check, you just don't hide. Just you fail. Okay. So that's the basics. Chapter 1, we're seeing some new art. Chapter 2, we got Venger right on the front here in the main from the cartoon here, and we could see know your players, which is an interesting to have something in there, right? Your players' roles to create characters. Your role as dungeon masters to keep the players immersed in the world you've created and give the characters the opportunity to do awesome things. Knowing what your players enjoy most about the D&D game helps you create and run adventures they will enjoy and remember. Once you know which of these following activities each player in your group enjoys, you can tailor adventures to your players' preferences. This is actually really good advice. This is much better written than the 2014.
Yeah, I like this opening a lot. It's a very gentle way to say your D&D game is not your novel. Everyone should have some input. I like it. It's a little gentle parenting at the start of.
Well, and then it goes
2.
on to say it's rare to gather a table of players who all enjoy the same aspects of the game.
Yeah.
The trick is to find a balance so everyone can get some enjoyment out of each game session, even if certain encounters don't match their preference. At best, a group of players is a lot like their characters in that having different interests and capabilities enables them to handle a broad range of challenges. And then it goes on to, we don't get the full picture here, but it says, like, the first one here is acting, right? Players who like to enjoy embodying their characters and doing that side of it. You've got exploring, right? Players who want to explore destinations, experience the wonders of a fantasy world. Fighting, people like combat. And then at the bottom, there's probably something under acting that we can't see.
Yeah.
But I like that there's instigating. Players who like to instigate action are eager to make things happen, even if that means taking perilous risks. They would rather rush in headlong into danger and face the consequences than cautiously plan their actions. Engage players who like to instigate by allowing their actions to affect the environment, including things in your adventure to tempt them. Letting their actions put characters in a tight, I think it says spot, but then it's cut off.
I flip back a little bit to chapter 1. I really like the final paragraph before the block there. It's okay to make mistakes. Because I think a lot of GMs put way too much pressure on themselves.
Very much so.
For those looking at the tiny print on the screen, it reads on to say, if you overlook or misrepresent something, correct yourself and move on. No one expects you to memorize every rule or detail, even if you don't realize your mistake until after the game session is over. It's okay to acknowledge the mistake at the start of the next session and make adjustments moving forward. And I think that is incredibly well-written advice.
They did go out on the limb to say multiple times that, hey, the goal of the Dungeon Master's Guide here is to be more show and less tell, to like show you how to do things and explain things well, and basically not. And they fully acknowledge that they recognize that the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide, people look at the magic items and don't care about the rest of the book.
Yeah.
Which is 100% true. Other than like if you want to pull in weird specific rules like ray guns or siege weapons or like the chase rules, which kind of suck anyway. So
yeah.
All right. I think next up here is treasure when we get to that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if there's going to be a little learn by watching blurb in this one too, because in the start of the player's handbook, they acknowledge actual play content and say a
Yeah.
good way to learn is by watching. I wonder if we'll see some of that in here.
That'll be interesting to see too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so 506, we get a
506.
nice glory shot of a black dragon and its horde, where we can see a holy avenger longsword and a bag of holding amidst its horde with a. We can see a little bit here about treasure, right? So this is something they've told us before, right? Monsters have treasure preferences, as explained in the monster manual, which does mean that the monsters will have a little bit of information about what kind of gear you'll find by killing a certain type of creature or, plundering their location. These preferences are expressed as themes, which help you determine what treasures are found in the monster's horde. For advice on how to include treasures, see Adventure Rewards in Chapter 4. But the treasure themes are Arcana, gemstones, magic items, or eldritch of esoteric nature, armaments, coins or trade bars, plus magic items that are useful in battle, implements, coins, trade bars, trade goods, plus magic items that focus on utility, or relics, art objects, plus magic items that have a religious origin or purpose. Which, at the very least, they also said that's how, like, the random magic item tables are broken down.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you look in 2014, it's very much like it starts with consumables, and it goes on a power scale from weakest to greatest. And then it goes into more, like, persistent magic items, and, like, it starts with uncommon, rare, very rare, legendary artifact. So this makes a lot more sense, too. Because, as somebody who's read these books inside out and backwards, I know if the DM's like, okay, we're going to roll on magic item table I, I'm like, nah.
I don't like that table.
J? Can we roll on, like, L instead so I can get a legendary item? You know what I mean? So now it's just roll on the relics table. Okay. All right. We don't, presumably, right? That we don't know. I'm sorry, folks. If you hated Electrum pieces, guess what? They're back. They're still here. They're not going anywhere. They're apparently here to stay.
The most hated currency in all the land.
Also, apparently, did you know, Sarah, that 50 coins of any type weighs 1 pound? Regardless of its type, whether it's copper, platinum, electrum, or otherwise, 50 pieces is 1 pound.
Ted, what about me makes you think that I have ever tracked the weight of anything in a D&D game?
Nobody does. But now you know.
But yeah, that's true. Are the trade bars new?
So they've referenced like trade bars as a loot item in certain adventures. Like you'll find 3 Mirabar trade bars in like I think Horde of the Dragon Queen. Like that's like a piece of loot you get in there. Like you find 3 Mirabar trade bars worth 10 gold pieces each or whatever. And that's just like a throwaway line.
But they never I don't remember them ever doing this. Merchants prefer these.
No, and I like this a lot because this, again, rather than you carrying, several bags of 50 pounds or 50 coins for worth a pound each, you could just basically either, I assume, turn them into it, or maybe as the DM, you just hand them out like this. But like, here's a 5 pound trade bar, and it's 250 gold pieces. And in like the world of, if you were really truly mechanically diving into the minutia of tracking, I'd rather you give me trade bars as a merchant than just sacks of gold, because it'll be easier to just be like, here's 1,000 gold, just keep the change, whatever, give you a bunch of trade bars, and then we see the little bit here of trade goods, which, a pound of wheat is a copper piece, 1 pound. Okay. Sarah, did you know?
Yes, Ted.
That one goat is the currency equivalent of 1 pound of ginger. So you can get a pound of ginger or a goat for 1 gold piece.
That's a really rude thing to say about redheads, first of all.
I know. It's rough. Or, and more interestingly, a silver piece, 1 pound of iron, or 1 square yard of canvas is a silver piece, which is interesting to me. I don't know how those equate, iron and canvas, but either way. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
We're on the lookout
that's too much
here.
math for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the next page is going to show the next one. So first of all, 511, this hag art where it's like boiling a slot or something. Or I think it's supposed to be a hag.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine.
I think that's a hack. Oh, gosh.
Boiling like a toad or a slot or something.
Look at that. Look at that little face.
I don't know. I don't know why, but some of the more sinister faces that Matt Mercer makes, I feel like it kind of looks like him. I'm sorry, Matt. That's not a slight against you. That's just how I feel about this piece of art. So
This looks like a character that Matt would just absolutely rock in the role play.
Yeah, 100%. So this they've got our Dungeon Master Spine of the Collector's Edition.
Got them.
Maybe,
Got some folks scaling.
Yeah, and we got.
Look at that. Look at the frozen over lake.
Yeah,
one.
The
That
frozen
is
over lake. Is there something underneath the lake?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a big old.
Big old something.
That is. Yeah, and you've got this character floating in the sky on the piece on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get to the next one, is this whatever type of dragon this is? Bronze, brass, one of those? I think this might be the first time we've seen that piece of art before.
I think
with this
so.
design.
I like look at this. Look at this labor just right in front. Like that looks like every guy I've ever seen at a construction site.
Like
he just walked through frame to do a job. He doesn't care the camera crew's there.
Yeah, right. All right, if we move on to the next monster. Okay, Monster Manual comes in at 537.
Yep.
Just let this go. Front cover. There was some new art of inside. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
543. We can see looks like some marrow, I think, and some sharks here. Looking pretty badass.
That's really cool.
All right. Okay.
See, that green dragon comes back too.
Now, yep, there's our green dragon that we've seen the art. Now, I don't know what the hell is on the right there. This like eyeball tree.
I don't know, but I want to go touch it.
Yeah, right. It feels like it belongs in Act 2 of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
In the shadow area. We've got our twig blight and our vine blight, looking a little more menacing. Little swamp thing action there. Now, 550, we've got, I assume this is Skeletal Dragon? Maybe Dracolich? Very
One of the
cool
two. I don't know. They revamped a bunch of the dragons, so I'm not quite sure anymore. But it looks
Thank you,
so
running here. We'll take a look at that after.
Looking at what?
I guess they put out an article on D&D Beyond, I assume, briefing of the upcoming books. So we'll check that out after we're done with this. Okay, 554, we have, looks like Azer got a serious glow up over here. And then get maybe more marrow or something similar on the right. And then 556. This I think this is new.
Yeah. I haven't seen this yet.
I don't believe this is like a creature we've seen before. Because, like, my gut wants to call this thing, like, an elemental hydra. Because, like, it's clearly got the body of a white dragon. But, like, it's got an acid head. But the acid looks like it's coming out of, like, a white dragon-looking head. You've got a fire head that's just made of fire.
Yeah.
And then a lightning head. And then a water head. Which we've never... Like, there is no water dragon, like, part of Tiamat or anything. Did we lose... OBS Studio disconnected? That's fun.
Oh, did your OBS disconnect?
It reconnected. We're
okay.
Fine. Anyway. But yeah, I'm wondering if this is like some sort of like elemental dragon. Like, could that be a new type?
They did tease at the press event that there were new higher CR monsters.
That's
brand new.
Could this be the? You think this could be the elemental?
I think
like
this might be the. I think this might be the
elemental?
CR20 elemental.
That's cool. Oh, I love that elemental hydra.
All
right, that's cool. And you see the Griffin riders in the background and stuff. All right, we'll move on. Okay, 557. I'm assuming this is like a shambling mound, right?
Yeah.
It just feels like that's what that is. Nothing too crazy there. All right, 559 looks like a Yeti, I think. They throw some big ice ball at these people that are frozen.
You get a creature next that's known as a Jeremy Crawford in the next.
Yeah, I
stove.
see that right at 6 minutes.
Oh, this is pretty. This cityscape.
Oh yeah, so this has got to be like City of Fire, City of Brass,
Yeah.
maybe, whatever it's called. Okay, then we've got, which I assume is 610 Asmodeus. I assume. We can see some sort of, I don't know what that is. Is that a Barghest maybe on the left here?
I don't know.
Somebody trapped in some sort of ruby on the right. I'm pretty sure that's got to
Well,
be.
it looks like it looks like a larger contraption because it looks like there's multiple windows off to the side.
So some sort of extraction or trapping device. At 611, there's our Dragonborn monk living it up in the back. He's always there. We've got, Ranger. Where'd you go? We got that dude in the background though.
Yeah.
You see that like creepy dude in the cave?
They look like they're about to get surprised.
Yeah. And then the druid kind of got our light up here in the front. All right, if we move on. All right, 616, we've got our Displacer Beast. I'm loving the armor on this elf, though, with this leaf-based armor. Looks amazing. And then we've got another Displacer Beast up at 617, which has, like, you can see the leopard pattern.
I like the texturing on these.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, wasn't it just flat black fur?
This is like a panther almost, yeah.
This is so cool.
Let's see. All right, here. So take a look at. So it's 622. You can see they're at. This looks like this is at Gen Con buying the books at 622. And then let's see if we can get a pause here. Yeah. Okay. So 627. There's a good friend of the channel, Jason Alexander, with his new player's handbook. Because you can see the sign right above his head says to Gen Con. At 627. So. Yeah, this is Jason, I think, taking a picture with the player's handbook and being like, see, I can say whatever I want about this because I'm not under any creator program. But yeah, I think where is it? It's at 629. You can see a Colts logo in the background. So this is very much selling it at Lucas Oil Stadium.
I was just going through trying to see if I knew anybody in the background.
Somebody's got a pixel die. Somebody threw it out there. Yeah, we've got the localization, which is awesome for
those
different
pixel
languages.
dice are so cool.
Yeah, I really need to reach out to the creator because we haven't talked in a while, and I want some pixel dice.
Yeah, so we're getting. Did they say 4 languages? Right?
Yes, looks like French, Spanish, Italian, German. I think. Get some of the live show here. With Neil Newborn, Abria and everybody, Bradley Mulligan. All right, now I think the next up here is I think they were talking about the Dragon Anthology.
Oh yeah.
Did we get adventure?
Did we get a visual for that?
We got a couple of quick visuals. So it starts at 7:32. Is the reference to the Dragon Anthology. And then first off, right out the gate at 7:34, we have a gold dragon with somebody looks like maybe casting fireball or something. And it's crazy because the gold dragon actually looks like it's a dragon made out of liquid gold.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
And is that our monk friend again? I don't think it is. It looks like some of that gold has come off on the characters that are like, it looks like they've just fallen off of him in the sky.
Yeah. If you move forward a little bit, we get to Tiamat. There's a real quick pan. We've seen this full piece of art exist somewhere online, but showing the different heads of her attacking some village. If you get to, 7:35 is the full piece of art showing all 5 heads.
All hail the queen.
Yeah, looking really good there. All right, now 7:37. That red dragon art, though.
That is that
He's
the red
boy?
Is that the red dragon or is that a ruby dragon or a metallic?
I think that's the red.
Is that the red? Okay.
It's just like, I mean, this dude, look at the gains on those arms, though. Like, this guy's not slacking at the gym.
No.
His neck alone, man, this is a football player of a dragon. His neck is monstrous.
Right?
He's huge. All right. So let's keep going. There's Amanda. Okay, so 741. Oh, dude, look at
Gosh, these look so great.
White dragon, though. Look at that. It's such a chunky boy. Look at his big neck beard. Look at him. His big white dragon neck beard.
This is what I wanted for dragon revamps because I loved how Thembershad turned out in the movie so much. I love me a thick dragon. I wanted more thick dragons. And I'm getting.
It looks like a dragon turtle almost.
It does. Like, it does a little bit, doesn't
like
it?
A turtle, like a snapping turtle head.
He looks like he kind of has like almost like a bearded dragon vibe with that really
definitely.
wide face.
Look at his little like wing claws are so chunky.
Yeah.
We got our copper dragon there on the right side. Was showing off a little more kind of almost plesiosaurus, long, skinny kind of neck going on here. I'm digging that.
I like the reference to like patina with that teal.
Yeah, with the green.
That's really cool.
And I'm assuming this is the art of like an ancient copper dragon, so probably more traditional copper when they're younger.
And the
just
patina
like we saw
gets
with the black. And we saw the black dragon, the face melts off as more acid is spewed. Or like a black dragon wormling has traditional all covered in skin, but as it's continuing to use its breath, it's melting away its flesh. A lot of interesting little art. I mean, the art is the one, if like, regardless of your thoughts about the mechanics and everything else, the art is still phenomenal.
Yeah, they did a great job on this.
746, we get more gold dragon. We've seen this art before. This was like the first piece that was shown. All right, now 748. That is a fantastic piece. Look at that boy. Oh, Lord, he coming. Those guys are all dead on the ground. Look at that little Gandalf wannabe with his staff on the right there. He's like, I got you guys.
You shall not. Nope, never mind.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's like, I got it. I'm holding up. I'm ready to go. He's got his staff.
Here we go. Wizard 10.
He's ready, and the rest of his party is dying in lava in front of him. This guy. I appreciate his candor, but I'm sorry, my friend. I don't think you're walking away from this one. I don't think you walk away from this.
Oh, that looks terrifying. I want to see it.
It looks so good. The dragon, just the change in the, because it's largely the same model of the red dragon, but just the changing in the skull shape and the horns and everything. Yeah.
They all have,
buddy. Shield ain't helping you here.
They all have such personality to them now. It's not just that's a dragon. Like it. I know exactly who this guy is when I walk into his lair.
Yeah, for sure. And you ain't walking away from it. All right, let's move on a little bit from our dragon friend. Okay, so is this another red at 754?
I can't tell.
It looks vaguely red in the. See, they're worshiping it. You could see this. Oh, and there's a dead. That's a dead gold dragon in the foreground.
Oh.
So it is a red. I bet you this is a red versus gold fight, because you can see like the tendrils of like the
you
kind of like mustache looking in the front. So this is a bunch of people worshiping this red. Now see this.
Oh my God! Look, I didn't. My eyes didn't even register it. There are people like grieving this one in the foreground.
Yeah,
in that corner,
grieving and then the other ones are sacrifice. They're offering up tribute to the red right below it in the firelight.
That is such a powerful piece. Wow.
This red dragon looks different than the one we just saw. Different, like, facial, like, head structure. So it looks like they might be even going a step further to customization between similar dragons of the same type, which is cool. All right, moving on. Starter set, fall 2025. Now, this one we might have to turn on the volume to hear this, because they didn't really show off any pictures for this one.
Yeah. I took notes on this one. This one was There's going to be 3 locations associated with it: a keep, a wilderness area, and the Cave of Chaos were the ones specifically mentioned.
And they mentioned it's going to be in the Borderlands.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a, like, escape from the keep on the Borderlands or whatever. Yeah, so there's the Borderlands. Yep, the 3 settings you mentioned. Which is like, that's a classic adventure keep on the Borderlands. Yes, 100% keep on the Borderlands reference, chat. That is 100% what it is. It's tied to that. So I'm wondering, is this, assuming it's going to be like a level 1 to 5 intro kind of adventure, I assume.
Yeah, I would think so.
All right, then we'll just, I'll mute it again, but local game store.
2 weeks early.
They're going to be, yeah, so it's so funny that they're touting this as like this huge deal.
Yeah.
And it used to be that way. At the start of 5th edition, it was that way. And then at some point they just stopped. And now they're bringing it back like it's this original idea.
I feel like, because it was commented, it was prior to the OGL where I was hearing comments of like they used to do this, they used to do that, and then they just kind of pulled their presence back out of the community to their ivory tower at Hasbro. I feel like this has been a lot of just look, we're the good guys again. You wanted this, now you have it. Be happy.
Well, they also, like, around that same time, they also pulled from any convention. They didn't have a convention presence. Like, until very recently, like past year or so, 2 years, they were not at Gen Con. And
they
I've
had a
been to,
massive
like, 8
presence
Gen
there this
Cons.
year.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But, like,
last year
when I
they
first
didn't.
went to Gen Con, they were launching, they had launched Tomb of Annihilation was, like, launching. Later that year, they had nothing there. Not a
Well,
single
last
presence of any
year,
kind.
with the drops that they had last year, you and I both thought
Big B's and
there's going to be a lot of stuff here, and it was a couple panels, and someone walked around to show us the art in the book.
So yeah, they're showing again, official street release date of these books is September 17th. You'll have access to it in game stores September 3rd, which is next Wednesday, I believe, or next Tuesday, as well as access to it on D&D Beyond. And they're also saying it seems like there's going to be programs they're saying that these local game stores can enter into to have like to obviously to get the books early, but also to possibly have like play. I'm assuming this is like Adventures League or like organized play, but it seems like maybe potential unique play options for people to have, like, hey, I just got this new book, and like, hey, we got an adventure that came along with it because we're here part of this local game store. Why don't you sit down? We got a handful of people just showed up. You know, you're waiting in line to pick up your book, maybe at like when the store opens, and like, hey, do you guys want to play a quick one shot? You know, something like that.
I do like hearing that because I know I've spoken to the local shop owners in my area who have been trying their best to stay afloat, and I feel like that's really going to help them, honestly. So I hope whatever they have to buy into to do that, it's worth it.
I'm gonna skip through the secret lair thing. I don't think there's anything. It's, you know, obviously it's got Baldur's Gate and it's got, you know, a variety of different things. But I do want to point out. Good.
I want to point out they know exactly who their target audience is with the Asterian cards and the Karlak cards.
Well, I want to point out if you go to 928. That is like first, second edition classic Goldspan Dragon art. That is the front cover of the 3rd edition Monster Manual in the middle, and a Sararak from the front cover of the Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition. So seeing that classic, iconic 3rd edition Monster Manual card, like art on a card, like that immediately, like that means a lot to me personally. And I'm sure the older Goldspan Dragon means a lot to a lot of other people who played back in the day. So that one really means a lot to me. And it meant even more when I found out that the way they made that art is someone physically built a prop of that book to look like that they took a picture of, scanned, and printed on the front cover of the book.
Seriously?
Which is really cool.
That is so cool.
So if you look back at any of like the 3rd edition Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide, somebody made that as a physical prop that they used to scan to be the cover, which is really cool.
That's wild.
I would love. You want to talk about like a pie in the sky like,
Collector's edition
item? I would love to get that. Like the
Has anyone
monster
verified that
manual.
it still exists?
Probably not. No, and it should probably be in a museum somewhere.
Yeah.
But if I like that's like a holy grail piece that I would love to have is like the it probably has nothing inside it. It's just the wrap,
Yeah.
for the purposes of it, but that would be really cool. Yes, it belongs in a museum. You're right. So Monday, the Lego minifigs.
Yeah.
So I won't spoil it for folks, but if you know certain things in the Lego community, there are certain ways you can scan codes and find out what's inside the random boxes so you know what's in it before you do it. So there's a way to get around that if you want to make sure you're getting just the original ones. You can find that on your own, but it does exist. But yeah, I mean, I love the Lego. Like, here's one of the wizards from the D&D Lego set, and I love that they like.
Did you get the D&D set?
Yeah, like so. Here's like the spell book opens
so cool.
and closes, and you can change out the scroll and like this is like a dress piece that you could like swap out to go with like pants and stuff. There's so much cool little nuancy things they did with the art. The fact that they gave like they get the you want to be a dwarf with a beard. They have the beard piece that goes on it and all sorts of cool stuff.
Okay, everyone watching, listen. If you go and watch one of my videos from beginning to end, I can hit monetization. I can one day afford the Lego set.
It's such a cool set. I'm a monster. Yeah, I know. But also, do we see that there's the Mind Flayer with the little Intellect Devourer? This is a 938. We've got Tasha.
Okay, let me catch up.
Over there, left of the Mind Flayer. You can see with her little face tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the Lady of Pain in the background there. You've got, look at the little red, like, pseudo-dragon, like, familiar. You've got, like, a Tiefling Warlock. High level, too, firing off 3 Eldritch Blasts from the look of it, potentially. Or maybe that's Magic Missile. I don't know.
Strahd looks so goofy, and I love it.
Yeah, well, let's get to the next little bit here. But yeah, there's our Warlock. Yeah, and here's our full... We've got an Aarakocra. I wonder if that's Jarnathan. If not... Oh, actually, I'm
no,
sorry.
Jarnathan was black, right?
Yeah, also, it's a ranger. Look at the little puppy. That's the best ranger I've ever... You wanted to... Okay, the best ranger in all of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is this Aarakocra Lego figure with the little mini dog companion. That's the best one. You'll never beat that one in 5th edition. It also doesn't have a stat block, so it's fine. So a common thing, depending on, if you haven't, bought Legos in a while, pretty common thing they do with a lot of these is the minifigure head has 2 faces and you turn one around. So if you look at the 941 image, you see how Tasha's cackling, possibly inflicting or being, you could call her laughter hideous if you wanted to. That's probably because the other figure we saw where she was smiling before is like the other side of the head that's hidden behind the hair. And when you turn her head around, it's got her laughing. You can see her little cauldron there at the bottom, which is pretty cool. There's like a red wizard of Thay with some sort of skull staff. There's a lot of really cool.
Is that a red wizard or is that Vecna?
It could be Vecna. I mean, he's wearing all red, so it could go both ways. Either way. Very cool. And look, Strahd's got a little mouse at the bottom there. Yeah, I'm excited for these. I will be getting them for sure. Oh, here's a little more close up here. 945 gets you.
I like the Mind Flayer.
It's a little closer look at everybody.
Oh, Tasha has her cauldron. I didn't realize that earlier.
Yeah, and she's got. You can see, like I said, there's the laughing picture in the one, and the other head just like the smiling one. Also, some of these, I'm not sure, but like I know for a fact, this is more of like a Lego collector thing. But like the Mind Flayer head and the Intellect Devourer, for example, those are unique pieces. Like the dragon head may exist from a previous thing. Some of these may have existed in other forms, just repurposed. But that Mind Flayer head, I think the hood for the druid with the horns, I think like that's a new piece made for this. Obviously, the Lady of Pain is unique. So there's a lot of interesting, unique pieces we have not seen before, which is pretty cool. All right, let's keep going because we're going to get into the third-party creators. We're basically just going to skip through the dungeon dudes and we'll just talk while we kind of vamp here. But we get to the page where it shows all the creators because there's some things on there that I think we definitely need to talk about.
Yeah, there's some stuff that surprised me.
Very surprising, like Free League.
Yep. That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Creators of many of other RPG systems.
Here we go. All right. MCDM, Griffin Saddlebag, Loot Tavern, Hit Point Press, Kobold Press, Free League, Dungeon Dudes, and Ghostfire Gaming.
So, we can say what we know currently is MCDM, Dungeon Dudes, Ghostfire Gaming, Kobold Press, and Hit Point Press are all on D&D Beyond currently. If you were to pull up a list of the third-party stuff, and I can't remember if Loot Tavern is already there.
I think they were announced already. I don't know if they're on there yet. I'll double check.
So if I'm looking at the partnered content, I see, what do we see? We see Grim Hollow, right? That's Ghostfire Gaming. Drakenheim is Dungeon Dudes. Humblewood is Hit Point Press. Flea Mortals is MCDM. Tome of Beasts, Book of Eventides, and Tales of the Shadows, Kobold Press. Grim Hollow, again, more Ghostfire Gaming, Where Evil Lies, MCDM. So that's all been covered. I don't believe, currently at least, on D&D Beyond is Loot Tavern. Now, you said was that announced already?
I could have sworn that I saw in something that it was going to happen. I might be misremembering because I know I heard Griffin Saddlebag was going to be added.
Yeah, I knew that. We knew that. That was, I think, announced or like it was like shown in a couple of things. So, I mean, I don't know. Griff is really great, and honestly, his content is some of the best to probably put on there because if you just want to expand your magic items, that's huge.
I've been a member of his Patreon for a while now to get the Foundry packs. I love his stuff.
Just a mass expansion of magic items for you to use, which is huge.
Yeah. And they're a lot of fun. Some of them are very silly.
And Loot Tavern has like a bunch of stuff, so that could be a variety of things. But honestly, Free League is probably the one that I'm most curious about. So I have a couple of thoughts. I don't know Free League
for 5e content. Or for
so it
D&D
could be
content.
Lord of the Rings based.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Potentially, because they did the one ring. But I thought they did some of like the 5e Lord of the Rings stuff. That would probably be the easiest transition. Also, not Vaesen. What the hell was it?
You know what I bet's gonna be on there?
What?
They just did a new Lord of the Rings. Ruins of Symbaria. Yeah.
Oh yes, that's it.
I bet that's what's going on there.
So yeah, because Symbarum is its own. It has its own setting and it's its own system. Symbarum is its own system, but Ruins of Symbarum is a 5e version of Symbarum. That is likely, yes, to your point, probably the thing that will make its way on there. But I'm pretty sure one of the Lord of the Rings, like the One Ring, I think is its own system. But I thought they had like the Lord of the Rings role-playing game, which is 5e.
I'm looking at it now. Lord of the Rings role-playing game is 5e.
That would be wild to get canonical Lord of the Rings, like 5e content on D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a way to pull in a lot of people. Just that recognition alone of Lord of the Rings on D&D Beyond, that'd be huge. Because, I mean, I think that's about it, I think, for 5e related stuff. Because, like, obviously Dragonbane's like a direct competitor, so it wouldn't really make sense. Unless they did some sort of weird crossover, which you could. But it seems like a lot of what they're doing is just rehashing existing content, not adding new stuff specifically. That's, you know what, that's also a point to bring up, is that we haven't seen new third-party content made specifically for D&D Beyond. It's all been stuff that already exists, just added to D&D Beyond. I wonder when we're going to get to a point where people are going to make new content for D&D, like from the start. You know what I mean?
in the press meeting that we had, they were talking about that, and they were talking about people being able to post, just you, like you and I, being able to post things to D&D Beyond and offer them for sale. So I think that is eventually the end goal, that the general public will also be able to use the marketplace in some capacity.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into the Forgotten Realms stuff. Because I'm very surprised to see a Forgotten Realms player's handbook and campaign setting. This is huge.
This one surprised me.
And they split it into 2 books, which is nice. Instead of like how they did, like Eberron was a campaign guide and a player book. Instead of doing 2 or 1 book, kind of like a bigger book, they split it into 2, which I think is a very smart move if you're going to attempt. It just sucks for people who already, like, if they're going to do this, like, I would say this is the method you should do for everything. So for like Eberron, you should have done a player's guide and a campaign setting, both.
I'm scrolling through here and I'm seeing more dragon art.
Yeah, I'm here.
1053. There's some new stuff there.
Yeah. Oh, there's a 1052. Do you see the cat kind of looking, the cat-eyed looking goblin on the right there with the hat and like the little bell?
Yeah.
There's a new Demogorgon piece of art.
Yeah, that goblin's my cousin. His name's Gerald.
Red Wizard of Thay at the bottom. There's a hobgoblin. We've got whatever that art or that dragon is over there, and there's a new green.
The one
dragon
between the
art
ships.
over there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the blue dragon art next to the green dragon art.
There's several blue dragon pieces right there. It looks like.
Okay. New player options. Crunchy stuff. New characters. Subclasses. Feats. Backgrounds. New spells. New kinds of spells was specifically called out. And I'm very curious what that means.
Yeah.
Could this be psionics making an official appearance, or something completely different that we don't know about? Because he made a distinction of new spells and new kinds of spells. Because it would be very easy to just say new spells, and everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
But what is a new kind of spell? Could this be a different, I don't know, but could we be getting at different kinds of action economy spells? Like, you know what I mean? Something different like that? Or combo spells that require 2 characters to cast together?
That would be cool.
Well, you know, like I take my action, you take your, like I have the spell, you have the spell. I action cast it, you reaction cast it too, but like it boosts it somehow. You know what I mean? Instead of like me upcasting it at a higher level, you combo together and we do like, this is, I'm talking myself into something that sounds really cool. That's probably not going to happen. But like, I mean, also there's a future supplement idea that we could write that would probably sell like crazy on like the DM's Guild or something. But
the power of friendship combined.
Yeah, group ritual spells, synergy spells, a great name, synergy spells.
Oh gosh, these landscapes.
Chronergy spells. Yeah, we could see like a new school of magic, right? That's a simple one, right? Is a Chronergy, do something else, you know, time magic, other, you know, fate-based magic, whatever it is. Yes, I 100% agree. It would be an absolute travesty to not bring back the man Ed Greenwood to work on this if you can. He's willing. I know that for a fact. The man loves his setting, and he would gladly work on it. So if you don't bring him back, like, come on. A luck wizard, yeah, luck magic would be great. Ninth, ooh, that could be wild. +9+ level spells, like above 9th level.
Ooh.
I've granted, if we're in the Forgotten Realms, Karsus's Folly was the reason we can't have higher than 9th level spells canonically, because they managed to put a stop to that. But I really don't know what a new kind, like psionics is what's the easiest one for me to think of, is like that is a new, but it's not a spell though. It's a psionic. It's not a spell.
Yeah.
Cataclysm spells. Yeah, I mean, maybe it could be like some sort of, could be blood magic, right? Something where you're eating your vitality to do, you know, something. I don't know. Yes, spellfire magic, right? Typing into the spellfire concept or pulling into the weave. Maybe friggin' Gale's the Galarian weave of like Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know. But it's exciting to think about.
It is. None of us know,
so
Ted.
again-
That's what's so fun about this.
So this is a great. So here's another thing. This is a great opportunity. Geomancy, yes, bring my stuff forward. They should really reach out. I'm available.
Throw big rock.
They could use this as the opportunity, I think, and they should,
Mhm.
to pull forth stuff that didn't make it into the 2024 book to update it, and specifically a lot of those subclasses from like the Sword Coast Adventures guide
Mhm.
that were just garbage, that didn't do very well, like the Battle Rager Barbarian, the Purple Dragon Knight. This would be a great opportunity to bring the Blade Singer back and update it for 2024 rules.
I love
all
the
this
Blade
kind of
Singer.
stuff.
Bring it back.
So do I. So this would be, because you can, as backwards compatible as they're saying it is, you can still do that with the
Yeah.
new base wizard and that old subclass. But this is an opportunity to update those and bring them more in line with how you want these new subclasses to feel. Right? You talked about Red Wizards of Thay as a type of faction you can join.
Mhm.
Well, what are the Red Wizards of Thay? Necromancers. What was a subclass that desperately needs love? The Necromancer Wizard subclass. Update it.
I'm really
This would
excited
be
about the factions.
Sun Soul Monk, yes, another great one that would be a Swashbuckler Rogue. All these kinds of things would be fantastic to update in this. Give us some new stuff, but fix the old stuff too and boost it. Factions, right? So could be Shadow Magic, True Naming Magic, Binding, Shadowbinder Magic. There's a lot of cool things they could deal with here.
Let's see. And I
So they
think the
said
next thing
Harpers
is
and Red Wizards, and then maybe new factions too.
yeah. They did say new factions that we've never seen before, so I am interested in those.
The different parts of the realms. Urban fantasy, Baldur's Gate, survival horror, and Icewind Dale.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see what we get though, because they're also naming locations that we've already been to.
Yeah, but I think it sounds like they might be reworking how they're like Baldur's Gate exists.
Yeah.
But like it's not really approached as like you could run a whole campaign here as an urban fantasy to deal with like city stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Although Icewind Dale did get a whole book on it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about 1150, please? Did you lose your
1150.
mind over this?
What was 1150?
Up ahead, you'll see. Yeah, there it is. How
I want
about
10.
this giant moth fey-looking creature from the Moonshay Isles? Come on now. With the little saddle on the back. You know, you're like...
He's just a little
Come on
guy.
Yeah, I mean...
Just a little
is
guy.
relative.
It's like the Saint Bernard of mounts. Like it just thinks it's a Chihuahua. Can you imagine having one of those just try and sit on your lap?
Take a
Sign me
look
up.
at 1158.
1158. Oh, it's so pretty.
Or maybe it's a
That's
little
really
bit
cool.
past that.
The floating
the
city?
rat, a little bit past that, where it turns into the gray background.
Oh, there's a rat with rats coming out of it.
The Rat King births swarms of rats from holes in its belly. Lots of boils on the skin, maybe more rat tails or bony protrusions from the back. Mouth is full of rat tails that wiggle and move like tentacles. Yo, show me where this guy's at. I want to fight this guy.
And people say that D&D can't do horror. I'm gonna show them this photo. That is... There's just like a rat like falling out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, hang on. I gotta go back. It is at 12:07.
1207. Okay.
We can start to see pages of the Dungeon Master's Guide. So I can see the instruments of the bard on the left and the Ioun stones in the middle. But I don't think I can make out enough to actually read any of it. They're too clever and zoomed it out too far.
See, we got some examples of place in there.
Yeah, and then if you go to 1207, we've seen this page with Hank and Hank's energy bow.
Yeah.
Um,
How's it going, Hank?
okay, then we've got at 1209, we can see a closet with a D20 there. It's the opposite side of the page there. Somebody, if you want to, go ahead and try to like enhance that so we can see it.
Can we just do the CSI? Like, can you zoom in?
Yeah, enhance. At 1210, we can see. Oh, look at the Hydra in the bottom right on the laptop screen.
Is that a Hydra?
I'm assuming, but I could be wrong. And then we could see some other stuff happening on the upper screen. Ah, it's so close. It's so close yet so far.
They knew you'd be watching, Ted.
I know. We're panning. What are we panning over to? More
Another
text.
screen.
Can't really make anything out on that screen. It's blocked out. That one's redacted. We're gonna. Somebody on the internet's gonna do that for me and then send it to me, and I'll appreciate you greatly if you find out what those pages said with the instruments of the Bard. And then we get to here at 12:43 is the breakdown of all of the upcoming releases. So summer to fall of 2025 is going to be a big year of releases.
Yeah.
4 things coming out.
Yeah, I was saying when they showed this, I'm gonna be interested to see if they stick to the schedule. That's an intense schedule for physical publishing.
I got so excited that I thought they were gonna do like an official Baldur's Gate 3 book.
That'd be cool.
Like a Baldur's, and then I was like, oh, it's Project Sigil. Never mind. Like, I'm not excited, but it's not like Baldur's Gate 3 book.
I mean, we might get a Baldur's Gate module within Project Sigil.
Yeah. I mean, I'm scrolling through. I mean, we heard a lot of this, and we kind of touched on it when we first went through, but I'm just kind of panning through to show, like, well, I think that might be the first official art we've seen of the new owlbear with those horns.
Where are you at?
1314.
Okay, let me zoom ahead. Yeah. I can't remember if we saw him yet or not.
These kobolds are in his swamp. He's coming right out of his outhouse, and he's mad that they're in his swamp.
I just want to reenact all of Shrek within the VTT.
But yeah, the new art of the owlbear with those horns is really sick. I love that.
That spell animation is really nice.
Yeah, and they've got, all the little bits of animation here. Then this windmill the windmill behind Astarion almost looks like that one part where you rescue the gnome off the windmill. And they made,
it does a little bit.
The amount of detail.
Yeah, the textures are just.
We all love Hero Forge, but like the 1324, look at the back of the kobold that's to the right of the screen. The scales, the intricacy of the spines down the back, the rings on the horn, the staff from the wizard.
Yeah.
Like
look at the leather texturing on all of Karlach's outfit. Like there is not a detail out of place. And then you get to these just random adventurers. Even I don't know what pieces they're wearing, but look at the scaling on that armor.
Yeah.
And the way it interacts with light. It's really cool.
The dynamics. It looks fantastic. I mean, even at 1334, look at the skeleton. The skeleton looks good. And you can see a little bit of the interface here, right? You can see Karlach in the bottom. You can see she's got a D20, couple of skills, attacks. You can see a little bit of the interface on the right showing like initiative roll for the skeleton that's using the Morning Star.
This UI is pretty similar to what you and I saw at PAX, right?
Yes,
I
little
thought this
bit
looked
more
really
advanced, a little cleaner looking. The builder is very similar, and it is pretty intuitive, I would say, based on what we played around with.
Yeah, you built a whole house.
The Necromancer dude at 1346.
Let's see.
Look at his face and like the flesh peeling.
Oh
off
yeah.
Of
and look, even in the background, look at that over his shoulder, like the flag that looks like it's on skin.
Yeah.
They still
And,
haven't
you know,
talked about how much this is going to cost, though.
Free. They said it in here. It's free.
Did they?
Hmm? They said it's free to play. And D&D Beyond subscribers will get more stuff, access to more things. And that other folks, you know, I'm assuming there's going to be, they still never said they weren't sure what their pricing model was truly going to be because they wanted to get through this beta to see what people are willing to do. So
When you
they
get to the
continue
dragon,
to
it
drive
looks really good.
home the concept of it. It's like a toy simulator. So like anything you can do with playing around with a bunch of terrain and like little toy bits and like moving minis around, you can use this for outside of just straight up D&D if you didn't want to.
Do you know what I want?
Oh, the black dragon with the acid breath.
Do you know what I want, Ted?
What?
I want this to be my D&D amiibos. I want to get my WizKid toy with a little chip in it. And I want to boop it on a little sensor and I want it to pop in there. So that I also have my physical mini.
Sure.
Wizards. Hire me.
So if they could work with WizKids, similar to like when you'll do like say like well, I don't know about how in Magic, but like say Pokemon cards, right? When you would or like certain things where you buy a pack and it gives you a code inside the pack that you can scan and it like gives you a pack digitally. If I buy a Bahamut miniature in quotes because it's huge, from WizKids, it should I would think it should include a code inside the box that I can then give me access to that mini in Project Sigil. So that
I think that'd be smart.
You sync them up. You know, you buy your physical mini, you get it in the digital way, and that aside from all the bullshit about them possibly not being able to do this without people stealing things, that's inside an enclosed box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just theft at that point.
Yeah.
Someone's opening the box and taking shit out. So that's how I would do it. I would put a code for the access to the mini in Project Sigil inside the box with the mini, and that's like part of it. You get both. You get the mini in physical form, and you get it in digital form. So let's see. I like that they showed off, you know, the animations, the lighting effects, the fact that it's easy to hide traps and things.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sound effects, visual effects. They have the Danger in Dunbarrow. I've played that one a handful of times. I've run that one actually in different alphas and things.
I really like the wiki style adventure that they're going with.
And you can just cut stuff out of there if you like. If you're the DM, you can just pull shit out that you don't want.
Yeah, that was something that we were talking about at the press thing. Is you can get adventure modules through them, but then if you buy Castle Ravenloft and you want to use it for something else, it's fully customizable. So you can do whatever you want and mix and match to be what you want.
Correct. And then as they mentioned, it is tied to D&D Beyond, so you can import over your characters from D&D Beyond and your collections of stuff from D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
Spells, species. They have the mini maker. They show that starts at 14, like 45. They start showing off the detail of the mini maker, and it looks pretty extensive. I will agree with a lot of what you said, free and heavy quotes, because they did say that, again, if you pre-order the 2024 stuff, you get the Gold Dragon Mini to kick off your collection, which does feel to some degree microtransaction. I'm not denying that. We still don't know the final model of how this is going to work. So, you know, it might be like, hey, if you buy the book on D&D Beyond, which now, again, cynics aside here, if you buy it on D&D Beyond and you then have access to it in Project Sigil, it encourages you to buy digital.
Yeah.
Because you're getting it in both.
They're going to have to find a way to fund this somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, so what if, say, the Dragon Anthology book has, like, 10 new stat blocks with new art, right? And I buy the Dragon Anthology in D&D Beyond, and as such, I get all of those as minis in Project Sigil.
I think that would be smart.
What do you think about that?
I think that would be smart marketing.
Because, like, what if I buy... So they said, and I think, you know, they said you buy the pre-order and you'll get the Gold Dragon Mini, which makes one think that you don't get all of them. But like, what if that's because Project Sigil might be out earlier and they're just giving to you early? But what if I buy the monster manual and every monster that has a piece of art in there, I get that art as a token, like a mini or something?
I don't know.
That's a pretty reasonable. That's also a great way to kind of funnel people away from other VTTs. I'm going to buy the book anyway, and now I'm going to get the thing in the virtual tabletop. That's a very smart business. That's what I would do if I was Wizards of the Coast. That's how I would do it.
Especially, and the easier they make it to just plug and play, or to just pick up and go, like with the wiki style that they have built into this thing, you don't have to do nearly as much prep as when you're flipping through a text. Or when you're trying to scroll through a PDF. But yeah, this is a level of detail that when they first talked about doing their own VTT, I was like, oh, another map thing, cool. This is not the level when they initially announced it that I was expecting, and it's something I would pay for as an actual play producer, because this looks really great. This is great for entertainment.
At 1452, you can see their this is a close-up art of a kobold. And they said one of the cool things is because of the way they've built their mini maker tied to the magic items and things in Dungeons & Dragons, if you get new loot for your character, you can outfit your character with that loot. So you can just continually update your mini to look like that accordingly, which is pretty cool. Redress them over and over again, however you wish. Show your individuality with your group. Just feel the progression. Trying to capture the toyetic vibe. So all of our assets are created in a way that's actually like buying a high-end mini or figure, which is true. I agree with that. Trying to make it look realistic, but also look painted. And I appreciate that because the Beholder, by the way, at 1516.
Yeah, phenomenal. I scrolled ahead. Look at the detailing on that wolf, the mouth. They have like the ribs in the roof of the mouth. That's wild.
So they have a module. It says it's just a D&D mini adventure meant to last a few hours just so you can get a taste. That was what the Danger in Dunbarrow adventure that I've run several times and been run through. But this looks way cleaner and way more polished at this point because stuff that we played around in and the things I played around in a handful of times were pre-alpha footage. And pre-alpha builds, this is at very least the beta.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how taxing it is to run as well, because I have a pretty powerful PC, but I had to finally upgrade myself to a streaming PC and a gaming PC because Baldur's Gate 3 was too taxing when I was trying to stream it. I'm really interested to see what the hardware requirements are going to be for this, especially since they're wanting to run it on both PC and consoles. Because depending on which consoles they're running it on will have a big factor on the power required as well.
I'm going to say previous gen, right? Your Xbox Ones, your PS3s, right? Or PS4s probably even at this point, you're out. We're going to be in the latest gen, and possibly because of the timing of consoles and dev kits and stuff, you might be on the next gen that's not out yet. But they said they want to get through. They drove this home very heavily, and I spoke to these guys quite a bit at Gen Con. They want to get through this beta to figure out what makes the most sense before they really dive into dev on console. They're committed to it being on mobile and on console, but they're like, we don't know what we don't know because we haven't put this out there to people yet. So we want folks to be able to play around with it in the beta, confirm what they like, what models and means of distribution and things like that people do like. And once we get that and lock that down, then we'll start dev on console. But we got to figure out what we want because it's easier to pivot on PC than it is to pivot on console. So let's keep going here. We're going to keep going through because I want to get to the part where they talk about the pricing. So I'm at 16 minutes here, and I'm just watching the closed captions to get to the point. Also, I really like, we'll get to it in a second here, building maps in 2D in D&D Beyond and importing it straight in.
That was cool.
and the fact that they're going to allow 2D tokens as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you rather not do 3D, you could do 2D flat tokens. Showing off some of the gizmos and the traps and the lifts and all the dynamics and things.
Yeah, it feels like they really thought out the customizability if you don't want to buy into the full package.
Yeah, it's 2D tokens are a way to let you bring in every monster. You can put an image on there, or you can bring in your own image.
Yep.
So so that's another thing, right? If you want to have if the builder at base is free,
Mm-hmm.
and people even said, like, are you going to buy like content packs for textures or whatever? And they said this at the press event. We don't know yet. Would that be something you'd want to do, depending on how we break this down? Because, like, would you want to buy a Ravenloft pack that comes with all of the assets for all of the maps in Ravenloft, and you buy that pack and then you get all that stuff? Or would you rather buy, like, carte blanche, I want a Gothic stone texture for 20 cents or whatever it might be? They don't know what the best method is because they don't know what people are willing to do. And for what it's worth, having known these guys for a little while and talked to them probably more than most other people have at this point, they do, for what you take it with a grain of salt. I only know one side, and when I talk to them, who knows what it actually is. These folks do seem like they want to make the best product for the people using it. They do seem earnest in that they want to try to give you what you want, as within reason, right? It does have to be funded. It does need to work. So there is going to be some form of model for it to be profitable. But like me personally, I'd rather buy like a map pack or like that. Like I'll buy the Ravenloft pack and it comes with maybe pre-made Castle Ravenloft, and then I get all the asset bits from that. I don't want to buy Gothic Stone Texture A for 25 cents. That's just
I don't want
pointless
that.
to me.
Give me like a handful of things at once. And I'll echo your sentiment. I haven't talked to them nearly as much as you have. The last time I really got to talk to anyone was at PAX last year. But when I talked to them, as a creator, like we go to these conventions and like we talk to a lot of businesses, and a lot of it is you're getting the sales pitch. And they asked some of they weren't giving us the sales pitch when we just walked up and said, hey, can we see it? We just heard you're here. But they sat down with us and demonstrated everything. We got to touch everything, got to ask as many questions as we wanted. And they asked me, as someone who uses a lot of digital tool sets already, a lot of really thoughtful questions about what sort of things I would want to see. It wasn't just, oh, do you like it? Cool. Here you go. Get out of here. It was, okay, well, why do you like that map making software? What about it is more interesting to you as a 3D map making software as compared to just something that's just like a 2D software? And we had a conversation about that at PAX. So I really appreciate the amount of thought that this team is putting into this. I will say that.
Yeah, a Tenacious Gamer, like a Forgotten Realms pack or an Eberron pack or a Spelljammer pack or a Planescape pack. Because if you're most people, you don't need Spelljammer pack, right? You don't need that.
Yeah.
Most people, if you're not doing space stuff or Spelljammer in any way, you don't need that. But if I want that, I should be able to get it, those assets, those textures, what have you. The fact that they're saying that 2D minis, you can import your own, I think we're kind of getting to the point that that's probably free.
Yeah.
2D minis where you can get a picture, probably any of the assets, because there's already art assets for those tokens on the 2D D&D Beyond maps. So I'm going to go and say, if you go into D&D Beyond maps right now, and you go to a map and you go to make a token on a map, and if you go to, say, pull a Bullywug token because you have the monster manual and it looks like that piece of art, that was probably the same Bullywug token we saw on the 2D map. And I think the premium bits are going to be the stand-up 2D or the 3D miniatures. Right? That's going to be like, that's going to be what you're paying for. But if they're going to let you import your own art, if you could, in a crazy weird way, go to Hero Forge and design a Hero Forge mini and then import the image of the Hero Forge mini onto a 2D token in this virtual tabletop. Like,
yeah. That's what I've been using for my entire campaign for the last year. Is I've been using Hero Forge and using just an image of what I make on there because I like it. I like the customizability.
Yeah, so if they're going to let you import stuff, then you can have infinite customizability in that aspect, which is pretty cool. So you put any image, your own image, create a unique character. So that sounds great. You don't even have to play. This is the other thing. You don't have to play Dungeons and Dragons necessarily, right? If you want to throw in your own custom rule set or another game, we roll dice. We have toys. Go crazy. They brought up at. They said one of
I
them,
like the Optimus Prime when they were saying that. You want to fight a robot?
Yeah. People brought in. They said. What did they say? Somebody on the dev team built chutes and ladders in it. Like they built a Dungeons and Dragons themed chutes and ladders. Another
That's so
person
cool.
made a chessboard and made chess with miniatures. So they used the minis to make a chess set or checkers.
Yeah.
Because you can build a map, and if you need just little pieces to represent things, you could do that. You could build Candyland in this virtual tabletop using all of these things, right?
It would
if you really wanted to.
Yeah, it would be really cool to use this to build like the tavern games that your players are playing at the table,
Sure.
and then they can role play as they're playing through an actual little game board in a tavern. That's really cool. I like that idea.
All sorts of games and all sorts of types of toys we want to add over the years. We're opening it up so you can bring in any kind of character you want, like Drizzt fights against a robot. And it does look, they don't show it, but you could see it here on the screen at 1703. Remember, they own Transformers. Hasbro owns Transformers. It looks like you could have Drizzt fighting Optimus Prime. Hasbro also owns Power Rangers, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe. Like, you could do all of that in here. Could you imagine that game? This is Toy Story the game. Like, realistically, you're your little toys and having fun.
My inner horse girl is just going wild.
Right, exactly. And like, they wouldn't show Optimus Prime, like, if they did, like, come on, it's Optimus Prime. You know that. You could tell.
I know the back of that toy's head anywhere.
Yeah, Hero, this is as far zoomed out.
Stepped on him several times.
Frame by frame look. I mean, take off the closed captioning. That's Optimus Prime. There's no questions. You could see it in the silhouette. You could tell.
Yeah.
Good luck, Drizzt. Guinevere ain't going to help you here. But, like, also there's this bugbear riding the giant scorpion mini, which is awesome.
I jumped ahead too far.
We got this one wizard. She looks phenomenal with her, like, gold and white and her glowing staff. The big deal is it wouldn't be Dungeons and Dragons if you couldn't share it. It's a huge creator community. They're the ones who've given the game and keep it growing. So people are going to be able to share these with each other. Meaning, if I make a cool map, I could share it and you guys could use it, is what sounds like they're getting at. We're integrated with D&D Beyond. It's able to easily organize information and create characters so that you can play that same character either in a book, on a piece of paper, or in Project Sigil in our immersive 3D world. And if you have an original 2D map, you can easily upload that through D&D Beyond's map feature, drag and drop that map into Project Sigil, and then boom, there you are, straight from 2D to 3D, no problem. We're starting off on PC. We want to go everywhere because we want to connect players across mobile, console, and they've brought this up several times to me. If your fridge has a powerful enough processor, if it's like an LG digital fridge, you might be able to play D&D Project Sigil on your fridge.
It makes me laugh every time they say that.
We want it to be there at your fingertips. 3D immersive experience is going to be available for free to try out. But also players are going to get it, but DMs are going to get even more advanced tools, and we're going to offer even deeper, richer experiences for those who really want to dedicate themselves to the 3D side of this. Whether it's D&D Beyond, the books, or the 3D experience, we just want to make it easier, faster, put more creative control in your hands. We want to thank you for being a part of this exciting development, blah, blah, blah. And that's the end of the stream. So, I guess, as a whole, what did you think of the overall D&D Direct? I thought it went pretty well.
I mean, it couldn't go bad. It was pre-recorded and edited.
That's also true.
I would have liked something a little more personable, but I get like people are busy. So this was all probably filmed months in advance and then edited together. But it would have been nice to see something more akin to like what we experienced at Gen Con with like people recorded on a stage, even if it wasn't live. More directly addressing people. But overall, I think it gives us a lot to look forward to, a lot for people to think about. And I mean, it's obvious where they're going in the next couple of years is pushing for digital, which I don't blame them, honestly.
Got to get there some point, right?
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
we've been an analog system for a very long time, so.
But luckily, I'm a hoarder and I still like to buy physical, so I'll take care of the physical sales, everyone. Not to worry.
I bet they'll have a monetized system for players to pay, but DMs built like creator fund style. They might, yeah.
They might.
What it comes down to is it free to upload stuff you've created? Is it free to download? Because if I make a map that I think is really cool, or you guys see me play in it in a live play, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. Can I get it? And then I could just give it to you for free. Or, not that I would necessarily do this myself, but what if I want to sell that to you? What if I say, hey, did you guys love the map that I made?
Well, they did talk about doing that.
They did.
Yeah.
So, like, here, you know, you guys want to play in my version of HYPEGOB that I ran for my players on, you know, Wednesday night. It's $3 on Project Sigil's store, and I get, you know, a portion of those sales, and you can just go get it and play in your own games, you know, however.
Yeah, I think they're kind of just trying to make themselves a one-stop shop for everything that you could possibly need. I mean, that's what they've said. I think what it's going to be like, based on my experience with other VTTs, is I think there's going to be a very small free package, like all of the other ones do. You have like maybe like 2 gigs of storage, or maybe even less than that, and that's all you get. But there's a little tiny slice that's free for you to use. But then if you want a larger, if you want larger storage because you want everything to just save there for forever, it's going to be probably a monthly fee. That's how Roll20 does it. I know because I hit my storage limit every single time I go to run something in Roll20. I'm pretty sure Foundry did that. So
they also could potentially, and this would be a very smart move, I don't know how reasonable it is, tie it to your D&D Beyond subscription that you're already paying for. So it just becomes a part of that, so you don't have to pay for anything extra.
I think that is going to be part of it. I think there's going to be more D&D Beyond tiers.
Potentially.
I think there will be a tier that includes Sigil and D&D Beyond. Just like there's like what are the tiers that they have now? I don't remember.
Master and Hero.
Yeah, Master tier, Hero tier. They each give something a little bit more. Not everybody needs the Hero tier. Not everybody needs the Master tier. It's going to be something where you purchase whatever subscription you want, or you just don't purchase. And content is probably going to still be shareable like it is now. So if I have someone who joins and just has a free account, I share my content in a campaign with them, and boom, they have everything I've ever purchased through D&D Beyond. So I don't know. I think we're going to see some microtransactions in some form or another. I don't think that's avoidable, but yeah, I didn't see anything that I was particularly mad at. It's another VTT. It looks really nice.
Looking at the article on D&D Beyond, it says an anthology of dragon adventures. We heard you like Dungeons and Dragons, so we're dropping an adventure anthology jam-packed with dragons and dungeons next summer. Dragon Anthology, which is a working title, contains 10 short adventures that span every tier of play. And because there are 10 dragons between metallics and chromatics, each adventure will feature a different dragon. So that's how that's going to break down. A new starter set, Heroes of the Borderlands. That's the working title. Easy to start playing in minutes, component-centric character creation, reimagines B2 Keep on the Borderlands, introductory D&D style adventure. Each booklet includes a short tutorial to help new and returning players learn as they go. A how-to play video will accompany this release. Oh, so we're getting a how-to video on how to do that as well.
That's nice.
we got our third-party bit, and then lastly, on the Forgotten Realms source books, Forgotten Realms Player Guide contains everything players and Dungeon Masters need. New subclasses, feats, backgrounds, spells, and it says, and a new type of spell. So whatever that means. Key information on factions of Harpers and Zentarum. And then again, it'll have information on Baldur's Gate, Kalimshan, the Dale Lands, the Moonshae Isles, and Icewind Dale. And then lastly, again, Project Sigil. It will offer modules, which are short adventures that come with pre-made settings and characters. The first of these is Danger in Dunbarrow. It will be available on PC to start, but will later expand to mobile and console. The beta kicks off this fall. You can sign up with your D&D Beyond account. If you're on D&D Beyond, it's right on the front page right now. There is the sign up for the Project Sigil closed beta. You can click right here and go ahead and do so if you haven't already. I think that's...
Yeah, they don't go into any
So that's
further
it.
on the third-party partnerships.
No, so... Anyway, that... interesting to know that they're not doing B1, Search for the Unknown. Yeah, it could be in the Dungeon Master's Guide. I don't know. But, boy, that was a 2.5 hour... this has been a 2.5 hour stream. About an hour and 10 minutes of that have been me and Sarah back and forth. A lot of it talking about the size of drinking vessels.
Look, this is important information that people need to know.
Yeah, and I appreciate that over almost 400 of you have stuck with us the entire time here, which is wild. So I think we're going to bring it to a close. This will be available in VOD immediately after this is over, so you can go ahead and watch back and click on it and see the different aspects if you'd like.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you again, Sarah, for coming to chat about this.
Yeah,
And,
thanks for having me, Ted.
Yeah, so we will. I'll see you guys, or we'll see you guys in whatever the next one. Be on the lookout for all the weird content ideas we thought up during this. So.
Oh, I'm going to make sure
Bye.
it's extra weird. Bye, everybody on my stream, too. Bye! Ted, wave.
All right.
Okay, don't wave. All right, bye, everybody.